Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
The long-awaited debut of CaitlinClark. A little bit of a mixed bag. Hey, welcome to the show. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. What is the bigger takeaway from CaitlinClark's first game as a member of the Indiana Fever in the WNBA, Perloff? Is it the fact that she did have 20 points in the game last night, or is it the fact that she had 10 turnovers in the game last night, and it was a little clunky at times?
Definitely 20 points, because it really looked like that was not happening earlier in the game.
It looked like, get
oh
warm.
my gosh, what a relief that we saw that CaitlinClark could actually score some points in the WNBA, because there was a time early in the game where it looked bad. Nobody cares about turnovers. This is the current NBA/WNBA. Who leads the NBA in turnovers? I don't have the slightest idea. Turnovers are not a thing. Yeah, great. I mean, I'm sure the all-time leaders in turnovers are the greatest players ever play. Turnovers are fine. Nobody cares about turnovers. We just want to see enough long threes to remind us that CaitlinClark is special in a CaitlinClark way.
Okay, but even with the long threes, it wasn't exactly, this one wasn't beautiful. And you want to give some grace. This was our first professional game. We're not rushing to any kind of conclusion. But I'm going to disagree with you that the story was the 20 points and not the 10 turnovers. Because, I might not be able to name you who is the all-time leader in turnovers, but that's going to become frustrating. And the bottom line is this is a different kind of competition that she's going to be facing. And the team she faced in Connecticut is good, and they are a perennial playoff team, but they're not even one of the best teams in the WNBA.
Right.
So in some ways, what kind of, what is this going to be moving forward? And if it's going to be 10 turnovers, and I believe it was 25 turnovers as a team or something, I mean, this is going to be a story because you can't win basketball games that way. And it's going to become frustrating because, everything starts on the defensive end, right? Mm-hmm. And if she's going to get turned over, and if she's going to be facing this more stifling defense, it's definitely going to make an impact, no?
Well, right. But what's important here? That the Fever win games or that CaitlinClark scores points? I think it's that CaitlinClark scores points, because no one expected her to come in and make the Fever a contender immediately. They're not a good team. So they're going to give her plenty of time, and people are focused on the individual here and the long threes. And just you need one or two highlights a game. And that's really what CaitlinClark has to deliver right now. Give her it's her first WNBA game. The fact that she was able to do this, to me, it was like that was a very, very good sign.
Okay, but, we're watching the game last night. A lot of sports going on, and this was definitely one of them. We're talking about CaitlinClark's debut. And she was 4 for 11 from 3. I mean,
that's pretty good. I mean, she had games in college where she was 2 for 17.
Right, but
she went 0 for 10 against Nebraska in the first half.
I know, but here's the thing about her college career. Her college career was different because she was playing for something bigger. You can go 1 for 10 against Nebraska because the threshold was, are you going to make it to the title game, and what are you going to do against South Carolina? We knew it was building towards something. This is just a rookie season that we don't know where it's going to go. I mean, the Fever lost 92-71 last night because they end up getting smoked. So if it's not going to be about wins, it kind of does have to look a little bit better, doesn't it? Like, can you forgive? Listen, again, it's one game, but let's just say this is indicative of a rough, rocky rookie season, and it takes a while to get your feet under you. Are people going to be sticking around for 4 from 11 from 3 and 5 for 15 from the field?
Yes.
Are they?
Well, 4 for 11 from 3 is absolutely fine. That's if she could shoot, what is that, 36%? Like, what do you think she shot in college? It's about the same thing, and they sure stuck around for that. That if she could do 4 for 11 for 3 against a more physical WNBA that's focusing on her, that's perfectly fine. The rest of the shots, not so good. But this was her first game. She clearly didn't look like herself coming out there.
No.
She totally figured it out. And I was encouraged that the physicality did not overwhelm her at the end. Like, oh, she's just as strong as the person defending her. I did not know if that was going to happen. I think it's going to be exciting. I think she's going to score 20 points a game. I mean, she's going to have some bad games. She's going to have some good games. The fact that if the Fever are not great, it's going to be even more exciting because she's going to be able to jack up a lot of threes, and it's not going to matter. I don't think people are so focused on winning and losing right now.
So I want to play some Caitlin sound, but just one more point on this. So I'm going to have to disagree with you on this. If, again, Caitlin had some bad games when she was in college. Let's not whitewash this thing like she never had an off night. She did, but then she was playing for something bigger and going for an NCAA title. If this season, and I have no idea how this is going to go for the Fever. Again, they're a very young team, so let's just keep underscoring that. But here's the thing. If they're not playing for any kind of title or anything, if they're not going to be playing, are they even going to make the playoffs? Like, if there's not something bigger, if there's not a bigger prize at the end, are we really tuning in just to see her hit a couple logo threes when they aren't going to seem to, quote unquote, matter as much?
Yes.
That was a big part of Caitlin's story at Iowa. It wasn't just that she was hitting the threes, it's that the team was good and that they were a title contender. I think that was a part of it.
Yeah, but she started to break through as a sophomore when they were not as good. I mean, she was starting to become a huge deal way before they were that good.
Right, but beating South Carolina in the Final Four and going on to face LSU took it to a different stratosphere, and then the next year was even bigger.
But it took time. I mean, it took time for her to become CaitlinClark. Like, why are we not giving her that benefit of the doubt? Weren't you encouraged by the fact that she could actually score in this league? I mean, that's pretty crazy. The way she started, I was like, oh, crap, she's going to be like a 8-point-a-game scorer. Now it's very clear that's not going to happen.
Right.
No, I honestly do not think their expectations. We didn't put any expectations on Wemby. Nobody cared that Wemby lost every game.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't even discussed. So why is CaitlinClark any different?
That's fair. 855-212-4227. I think and here's what I'd say, there's just a reality to this, which is you kind of know the people are going to tune into the NBA no matter what. This is what kind of comes along with the pressure of being CaitlinClark, is she's being expected, fair or unfair, to sort of raise an entire league. Wemby doesn't have to worry about that. LeBron can carry that load. Anthony Edwards can carry that load. And I'm not saying there are other stars in the WNBA, but nobody looked to Wembanyama and said, man, everything's riding on you. Future TV contracts and how, and selling out stadiums and moving games to different arenas just because everyone can't wait to see you. Wemby doesn't have that kind of pressure like Caitlin does.
I hear you, but I think Caitlin, the pressure is to score. It's not to win right now.
Got it.
I think. I mean, I'm going to watch her. They could be the worst team in the league, and they would triple the rating of the best team in the league. You will admit that.
But for how long, though?
For the entire season. There's nobody's tuning in to see anybody else except CaitlinClark.
Right.
I guarantee her games throughout. They could be the worst team in the league. If she's the leading scorer, she will be the number one draw in that league by 5 times.
Okay, but here's the thing. If you're hitting threes when the game's out of reach by 15 points, or it's
bring it on.
I don't say garbage time, but something like that. I'm gonna have to disagree with you there. I think it's gonna feel like empty calories, which is a little bit sometimes like Wemby felt, to be fair.
Yeah, but nobody cares because everyone watches the sport and the NBA on YouTube anyway. Nobody's watching that Knicks Pacers game. That was super exciting. Barely anyone watched that. Nobody watched it ever. People are watching these games and highlights. Caitlin's got to generate highlights to get all these shoe deals to pay off. And she can hit, like last night there was a play where she came down and the player gave her an elbow and she fell off it and hit a long three.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I was like, that was awesome. And if she just has to do that 2 or 3 times a game for her rookie year, it's fine. As she develops in the league, then eventually she's going to have to win. But I don't think this rookie year. I think people just want to see her go out and really play with this incredible style. Like, it's really cool to see.
Show she belongs.
We know
that, right?
But it's more than belong. I mean, she was the leading scorer on the team. And she wasn't good in the first half. So that was really encouraging for me. And also, she missed a couple shots that usually she hits. She had some open threes. I think she's going to be just fine. And I think it's exciting. Again, it's exactly like what I have a lot of friends who don't watch NBA. They just watch Wemby highlights. Like, they're like, it's cool to see something you've never seen before. And they don't care that the Spurs have 18 wins. CaitlinClark's the same way because you've never really seen a WNBA player shoot from that deep. So if she can continue to do that, she shot 37% in Iowa. So 4 for 11 is just fine. And it's harder in the WNBA because the defenders are better.
Yeah, the game was not in the balance.
Well, I mean, it wasn't. You're right. It was. The final score was. It was kind of like a 10 to 20 point game the whole time. It wasn't a total blowout. It wasn't like Pacers-Knicks game 4 or whatever that was. Well, it wasn't a 40-point game. It was close enough. There was a little run at the end where I think people got nervous because Caitlin started to figure it out and she got down to like 11 or 12. I don't know. It wasn't. It was entertaining enough.
Let's hear from Caitlin on what she learned about WNBA basketball in her debut.
Thought it was physical. I don't know. Obviously, it wasn't like the best start in the first half for myself. Getting into foul trouble, and then you got to sit on the bench and try to come back into the game and get into a little bit of a flow. But I obviously too many turnovers. That's not going to get the job done, but I think just a lot of things to learn from.
Yeah, and she was right about the turnovers, the early foul trouble. It is odd to see her sitting on the bench. Like, it is, because it seems like she played every second of every game at Iowa because she basically did. EJ, why don't we put this up on the poll today at Maggie and Pearl on the Twitter, which is what's the story from CaitlinClark's debut? Scoring 20 points or committing 10 turnovers? And you are welcome to weigh in on that at 855-212-4227.
Just be careful. You
What?
know, there's the Caitlin hive out there that they are very sensitive.
Well, we're not.
I'm just distancing myself. Anybody who wants to focus on the turnovers, just know there is no more rabid fan base on earth than the Iowa people defending Caitlin Clark. I've seen it. I've seen it in real time, Maggie. I'm just warning you.
But you're praising her. Like, they should come for you.
It's hard to have an objective conversation about Caitlin Clark because her fans are really intense.
Well, listen, I think her fans were probably relieved last night once she started scoring and once you saw the ball go through the hoop and it was about 5 minutes left to go in the first half that happened. But once she started to get her legs under her, it definitely looked a lot better. But the turnovers were bad. I mean, and why would we sugarcoat that when it's just the truth? No one's writing off her WNBA career or anything like that. I'm just wondering, are people going to still keep tuning in if the games aren't, if they're not competitive? And you have a fair point about Wembanyama. People still were interested in Wemby, and the Spurs won like 13 games this year, whatever 19 games. I mean, they were terrible.
Which would be a better scenario for you? That if the Fever were a playoff team and she scored 12 points a game, or if the Fever were a bad team and she led the WNBA in scoring at 25 points a game?
So I think that it's got to be playing on the biggest stage possible earlier in your career, I think really helps. And I know that from, like, we see in baseball. Well, the difference between like a Derek Jeter who was getting to all these World Series really young and propelled him to this stardom versus a Mike Trout who's a much better player who we never see in the postseason at all. And I do think that matters. So while having these individual accolades helps, I do think at some point, why are we tuning in? We also are tuning in because we want to see competition. We want to see good games. We want to see games that matter. And I think if Caitlin Clark was breaking records at Iowa, but they were winning 5 games a year or 6 games a year, I don't think that she's as big a deal as she was. She was playing for national championships.
Yep.
That is a huge part of the story.
You didn't answer the question, which is interesting.
What's that?
I said, which is better if she scores 12 points on a playoff contender or 25 points and leads the WNBA in scoring?
I'm going to say 12 points on the playoff contender. I think that matters at some point. You're athletes here. We're not doing this for participation trophies. You're trying to win, right?
I just think the way people consume NBA, and I think the same is true for NBA, like just scoring and a new kind of style, that is so much more important than winning games. Nobody cares if the Indiana Fever. The other thing, too, the Indiana Fever, I don't think are going to win the title. So even if they make my point is, even if they make the playoffs, are they really a favorite? So I'd rather see her just throw up a lot of shots.
We're talking about Caitlin Clark last night. The question, what's the bigger sort of takeaway from last night? Her 20 points on 5 for 15 shooting, or was it her 10 turnovers? So here's the question, too. You mentioned like Wembanyama. He major hype around him coming into the league. He won Rookie of the Year unanimously. We all know that around here because Perloff now has to pay off a bet where he has to drive to San Antonio. But their team was never competitive. Next year, Wemby can't have another year. The Spurs can't have another year where they're a complete afterthought, right? It's going to... I don't think that's possible. It's going to seem like a waste.
I don't know. Like, who's going to be in the finals? It's probably going to be likely the Nuggets and the Celtics if the odds play out. Nobody cares about those two teams. I think fans are much more interested in Wembanyama and Anthony Edwards. And I just think the way people consume NBA is, and WNBA in this case, is more individual backed. It's not really like teams. I mean, Jokic is probably going to get to the finals again. Think anyone cares about Jokic? Honestly, I'm being blunt here. No. He doesn't move the needle at all for them. It's going to be the lowest rated final in the history of planet Earth, except for the bubble final. I mean, it's not going to do well.
I wonder if people are coming around on Jokic. I mean, that's a different story, but it's like the individual, do they have to show any kind of winning at any point to keep our attention?
Well,
now,
but
this is down the road now on Caitlin.
I'm putting her expectations, and maybe this is my fault, way down for her rookie year. Like, she does not have to carry them to be a winner. She just has to show that she can score at this level. I think it'd be cool if she was the leading scorer and the team was bad, because then you would say, okay, we're young, we're going to develop. Again, she's CaitlinClark. We probably put too high an expectation on her. Yeah, it's her first game. She was probably super nervous as well, and you could see it. And also, she's trying to establish herself as this fancy passer. I think that's part of where the 10 turnovers came, because everyone, she likes this. I hear her talk about it a lot in press conferences. Oh, my first priority is passing and helping out my teammates. So I think,
and you laugh.
I've been in big trouble. I'm like, oh, get out of here. You're the all-time leading scorer in college basketball. Embrace that. Stop talking about your teammates and start shooting. So anyway.
Perloff wants her to just be the most selfish basketball
People were
player.
mad at me for saying that. Like, okay, you are a great passer, but come on, you're the single best college basketball scorer of all time, men and women. Embrace that. I think I just want to see her take a lot of shots this year. You're probably right. Next year, Wemby, I want to see more winning. Next year, CaitlinClark, I want to see more winning. I just want to see a lot of points right now.
So if you want to watch the show, you can do it. That's available to you. YouTube.com/InfinitySportsNet, Twitch.tv/InfinitySportsNetwork. Widows Coffee Drinkers up early, and they are on it. Curtis saying Cheryl Swoops was dragged for saying Caitlin and Angel would need time to adjust. She was proven correct. I mean, it is one game. He also says the Fever don't make the playoffs after back-to-back #1 draft picks. Remember that they also draft Aaliyah Boston, #1 overall last year. We also like this from Daly. It's one game. Caitlin has always turned it over a lot, but Iowa always won, so no one noticed. I mean, you're right. She does try the fancy passes. And the thing is about the turnovers at Iowa is that everyone always blamed her teammates. It's like the rest of those chicks aren't good enough. They can't handle her outlet passes, and when she gets to the WNBA, it's going to be a lot better. Listen, again, it is one game, but we're asking you, what's the bigger takeaway from last night? Is it the 20 points that she scored, or is it the 10 turnovers? EJ, get in for a sec.
I mean, I'm a little dumbfounded, quite frankly, about the idea that she could average 10 turnovers, and if she shoots 5 of 15, that's going to be a great rookie year for CaitlinClark.
That's her first game.
Like
You've got to imagine she'll get better shooting.
Yeah, but I don't know about that. I'm talking about this game and talking about what we saw. And I looked at 3 different websites, ESPN, CBS, Yahoo Sports, every single one of them. CaitlinClark, 10 turnovers and struggles in debut. That's the takeaway from this game. She did not play well. She told you herself she didn't play well. So if this is going to be who she's going to be, which I don't think she will. I think she's going to be a superstar in the WNBA.
Right.
But this was not a good showing.
But you bet me she wouldn't score 20 points a game in the WNBA.
I still don't think she will.
It was the under. She hit, I believe that her prop started at 21.5 and then got bet up, if I'm remembering. It got bet up to like 23, and then the under started coming in big time with all the sharp bets.
I'm encouraged.
She barely made it to 20.
Yeah.
This was her first game. I mean, she really, the stage felt too big to start out. Like, I think if you get second, you're right, second quarter on, Caitlin, like she's going to score 20 points a game if we get that player. By the way, all-time leader in turnovers, NBA history.
Wait, can we hold that for after the break? Because I want to think about that for a second. You piqued
all-time
my
leading
interest.
scorer. Turnover?
All-time turnover leader in NBA history? No.
We can wait. Okay.
I think I know who it is, but I don't know who it is.
No Googling it.
I'm not going to Google.
You already said it on the show, literally 8 minutes ago.
It's Rudy Gobert?
Oh, no. You said this guy is probably the all-time leader.
I thought I said Rudy Gobert, but I was just clowning him from last night. 855-212-4227. I want to think about it. Who did I say? 855-212-4227. Bigger takeaway from Caitlin's debut. Was it the 20 points or was it the 10 turnovers? You are welcome to weigh in and be a part of it. We've got so much going on today. This rundown, is this 2 rundowns put into one? We've got so much. We've got football. We've got schedule release. We've got Cowboys news. It's all happening on this Wednesday. Don't move. Maggie and Perloff.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to Maggie and Perloff. Started off the show debate. What is the story of CaitlinClark's debut? 20 points or 10 turnovers? I say 20 points. Who cares about turnovers? So we left with a question. Who's the all-time NBA leader in turnovers? I'll give you a hint. He's the all-time leader in every NBA statistic ever invented. Maggie?
Would that be LeBron James?
Yeah, it's LeBron. I went over the list of turnovers. The top 50 guys in turnovers are all Hall of Famers. So turnovers are irrelevant. Nobody cares about turnovers. Turnovers are good. It's like greed is good. Turnovers are good. That means you're on the court all the time because you're awesome. except for the number 2 in turnovers is Russell Westbrook. So that's not as good. But then you go into a bunch of good players like Kobe.
I know, but Russell Westbrook, as much as we clown him, is probably going to the Hall of Fame.
Oh, he's definitely going to the Hall of Fame. But right now he's not exactly who you want to be. I think CaitlinClark, she could have a million turnovers. People are just going to see a 40-foot three on Instagram and be like, yes, the CaitlinClark experience is in full effect. This rookie year, I don't care about wins. I care about her scoring.
Well, she went 5 for 15 from the field last night, and so did someone else in the NBA side, and that's Anthony Edwards. He was 5 for 15 last night, 1 for 5 from 3, and had 4 turnovers, not exactly the same. But here's the thing. The Anthony Edwards as Michael Jordan debate, I think, has to take a real big back seat. And it was silly when it first started, even though Edwards was playing out of his mind. He's a great story, and he can be and will be one of the faces of the league moving forward. But he's been taken to school, just like the rest of the Timberwolves over these last 3 games.
I disagree. First of all, he was awesome the last game. He was amazing. But he's getting a double team from the second he goes over half court. Denver, who actually has a coach who is actually awake, unlike the Pacers, said, we're going to make everyone beat you except Anthony Edwards. And everybody was wide open on Minnesota because everybody was covering Anthony. And they stink. The guys around him stink. That's the bottom line. I don't want to hear any Anthony Edwards negative talk. Yep. He was getting a double team 50 feet from the basket, leaving everybody wide open, and nobody could hit a shot from Minnesota. Okay,
but Perloff, don't you agree that rushing to the Michael Jordan comparison was something that now feels a little silly, doesn't it?
Well, I think the Michael Jordan comparison was apt because his style is very similar to Jordan. Like, we haven't seen a guy who's that vertical since Jordan, and no one was saying that he's a 6-time champion. He's going to be the GOAT. But his style, the way he plays, looks like Jordan. I think that's fine. I mean, the turnaround jump shot where he hangs in the air, like, who does that except for Jordan? He's the closest we've seen, maybe Kobe, but yeah, he's got a Michael Jordan style to him. I think that's fine to say. That doesn't mean he's the GOAT. I kind of like it still.
Okay, but that's the thing. When you compare somebody to Michael Jordan, you can't just say, oh, it's because of how he looks. People will run to the conclusion that you think all of a sudden he's the next guy to wear the crown, so to speak. And I'm not saying that Anthony Edwards might not be that guy. He is very exciting to watch. But again, 18 points last night. He was a -12. I mean, listen, the Nuggets just found another gear, and Jokic did. Jokic had 40 points last night. He was insane. 15 for 22 and 2 for 3 from. I think he's just. He turned it up to another gear. The Nuggets have turned it up to another gear, and they're leaving Minnesota in the dust right now, which is good for me. Because you and I have a show bet, and I really did not want to eat lime jello with tuna fish on it and green olives. I'd much rather have you eat Rocky Mountain oysters. But on the real...
Wait. But one thing about this series.
Yeah.
You see, last game, Anthony Edwards scores 44. It is very clear he's the only player in game 4 with any confidence on Minnesota. So Denver comes out with a defensive game plan to say, everybody else, it's up to you. Someone else is going to beat us.
Right,
and it
with
worked.
No Mike Conley to distribute
No
the ball
Mike Conley. Yeah, that was a huge deal, too. That's a great point. So he scores 18 points. There are playoff games where Michael Jordan had 18 points. It happens. You look at the other series, Indiana against New York. There's one player on the New York Knicks who can shoot. One player. His name is Jalen Brunson. The Indiana Pacers have no defensive game plan whatsoever. Good coaches can adjust to a one-man team. So I'm not putting this on Edwards. I'm putting this on the T-Wolves. And it just makes me think of how stupid the Pacers are. Like, they have no idea. They're not even trying to stop Jalen Brunson. So I think you see the difference. Like, one-man teams cannot win in the NBA, and that's why Anthony Edwards struggled.
I just watched Jokic score 40 last night against Minnesota, who was the #1 defense in the league this year.
Right, but they have all sorts of weapons. Like, you can't focus on Jokic because he's such a good passer, and he's going to get it to all these other guys who are going to step up. Nobody on the T-Wolves is stepping up.
Okay, but see, that's now. That's now because the Nuggets have raised their level. That's not what we were saying in the first 2 games of the series when we're talking about how good Karl Anthony Towns have been. And we were talking about, look at this cast of characters with McDaniels, and look how good Naz Reid is, and look at this, balanced team that they have with Anthony Edwards as the center of it. This is something we were saying a week ago.
Right. Why, by the way, what happened to Naz Reid covering Jokic? Like, I didn't see that a lot last night. I feel like they were really focusing on Jokic early in the series, and I don't understand the T-Wolves coaching strategy at all. on this one. Like they had a formula where they were running it. They were just covering Jokic all over the court, and now they're not. It's very obvious. I don't understand the coaching in the NBA. I think I need to
Is this you and Bellotti? Bellotti wants to be the manager
I think
of a
I
Major
can
League
be. I
Baseball
can.
team,
I
the
can definitely get
Rockies?
out Coach Rick Carlisle. I am positive about that.
I wish we would get the opportunity to see it, but you're
But
right.
and
Carlisle's
also,
not doing himself.
I
any
wonder
good.
about the T-Wolves and the coach's injury, and I something weird is happening. Something weird is
Yeah,
happening.
we weren't
They're
saying
not
that
the same
the first
team.
2 games when they won in Denver.
Right, and then that team that won in Denver completely disappeared. Like their defensive intensity has gone down by 10 degrees. What happened? I don't understand. They were picking up everybody all over the court. They were banging everybody, and now they're just different. I'm just mad because I'm losing a bet.
Yeah. I mean, you should be mad. 855-212-4227 on what's changed between the Nuggets and the Timberwolves. Andrew Bogusch is here with headlines. What else happened last night?
Everything is sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Looking for a career path with flexibility and great pay and benefits? Go to progressive.com/careers and apply online today. Yep, I'm asking for a friend. Where do we get bull testicles in Manhattan? The T-Wolves now on their first 3-game skid of the season after dropping Game 5 in Denver last night, 112-97. Defensive Player of the Decade, Rudy Gobert, did not have an answer for Nikola Jokic.
We know he's a one-of-a-kind player. We know he's going to make some incredible plays, but we got to keep battling. We got to keep making it tough on him.
Jokic with 40 points, 7 rebounds, 13 assists, and 0 turnovers. As you just heard, Anthony Edwards, just 18 points for Minnesota, hitting 5 of 15 shots. Jalen Brunson hit 18 of 35, scoring 44 in a get-right game for him and his Knicks. They crushed the Pacers, 121-91 at the Garden to take a 3-2 series lead. Pacers head coach Rick Carlisle only blaming his team this time postgame.
Very poor effort, obviously. Lost every quarter. Got annihilated on loose balls and rebounds. Gave up 20 offensive rebounds and 29 more shots. So we all own it, but very embarrassing.
These two now have their first 2-day break at the series. Game 6 in Indy not until Friday night. There was other action on opening night of the WNBA season. The Liberty winning in Washington, 85-80 behind 25 points from Jonquel Jones. And the Aces got their championship rings, hung their banner, then beat the Mercury 89-80. Asia Wilson, 30 points and 13 boards. As for those still in college, ESPN has apparently given the green light to Season 2 of Full Court Press, which will follow some of the biggest NCAA names through the coming season. UConn's Paige Beckers, reportedly the main focus. This a Peyton Manning Omaha production show. Season 1 debuted this past weekend, starring, of course, CaitlinClark and Camila Cardoso.
Okay, I ask a question on this one, honestly. So we all know that these documentary series did wonders for Formula One. Right? I don't think there were a lot of Formula One fans in this country. It's a big sport worldwide, and it took it to a new stratosphere where we know Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton, and now we maybe watch this stuff. Has it really worked for anything else? It didn't work for tennis.
Yeah.
I don't think it has.
NASCAR
it worked for
tried it.
golf?
Did you know that?
NASCAR's tried it. Now
I think Hard
Hoops.
Knocks worked back in the day, but
Hard Knocks definitely
after
worked.
many years, I think that there was fatigue on that.
But we also have this insatiable sort of love for football. In terms of broadening, that football audience is going to be there, Hard Knocks or no Hard Knocks.
Yeah.
Here's
what
try
happened.
to use these things to grow a sport. Are we sure this works?
Well, here's what happened with football. Hard Knocks was the only way we saw all this. Then all of a sudden, Instagram and everything, now you can see so much footage of behind the scenes. Because you have guys are filming everything that's happening that it's generic now.
Right.
So I think that has gutted a lot of the pro sports documentary series, like the All or Nothing series. No friend has ever came up to me and said, "Hey, did you see what happened on the Cardinals All or Nothing last night on Amazon?" That is just not a thing, right? I mean,
well, you're not sure if you're getting
EJ
the
probably
truth
loves it.
sometimes.
Oh yeah, I love all this stuff.
Because again, sometimes and even Hard Knocks has to be approved by the team on what gets out. And so you're wondering, am I really getting the real story? Am I getting a glossy version?
Yeah. And also too, everyone's got a phone now. I can see Jameis Winston doing funny stuff every day of the year. I don't need to wait for a Hard Knock.
Yeah.
I think the difference, though, with this could be that there is an appetite to see more women's college basketball and more access. F1, I think a lot of us didn't know we wanted more access, and then people said, "Oh, I actually want more of this." But I think with with this, kind of like football, what Pearl was mentioning, was there people wanted more. Like, all we saw was just whatever NFL film showed us with, Bill Parcells yelling at Chris Sims on the sideline, or Phil Sims on the sideline, and in the games. That was all we had. Now we had Hard Knocks, so now we were accustomed to it.
Now you get Rex Ryan's foot fetish.
Right,
So
now we get too
America.
much. But with women's college basketball and the WNBA, for sure, I think that people want to see more. So I think there's a chance this could work because there is that appetite, where other sports, I don't know if people are asking for more of NBA, more of baseball, more of those things.
You also have a lot of new viewers now who are
Right.
just attached to basketball who now are like, okay, what else? How else do I do this?
My problem, I see ESPN docuseries, I'm out instantly because that's going to be Disney-fied. They're not going to show you anything interesting. I mean,
all those 30 for 30s were Disney.
the 30, but I
Those
mean,
were
like,
good.
you guys welcome to the NFL, the rookie series. It's actually really good.
I love that.
Yeah.
it's really good, but it gets no attention whatsoever. I think people are skeptical when I honestly, the 30 for 30s are good. That's a good
And
point.
you know what else was good?
But no, wait, is anybody watching this? I have not heard anything. It's called Full Court Press.
It just came out.
You know what they should bring back, and I'm not a big fan of his personally, obviously, because John Gruden has disgraced himself with what we found out about what was in his emails. But when he did that quarterback thing,
Yeah.
when they used to go in the Winnebago or whatever,
Awesome.
it was so good. Why aren't they doing that again? Like, Dan Orlovsky could do it. Well, maybe not Dan.
That's
but
the problem, I think. They don't have a
Rex
football.
Ryan could. Well, Rex is more of a defense.
They don't
Well,
have
here's
a
the thing, though.
football
They do-
authority. Maybe Peyton would be the only
Peyton
guy who
Manning
could do
could do
something
it.
like that with.
They do versions of. There's so much content out there right now. There's 27 versions of guys sitting down with players watching film. I just think there's so much media out there. It's going to be hard for any docuseries to break through.
But I think the reason why it worked with Gruden, and maybe Bill Belichick could do it, because you need to actually criticize the guys. That was always the great thing about John Gruden. He would sit there with like a sly grin on his face and be like, and bring out a low light and be like, what the hell was that?
Yeah, but he'd always, by the last 5 minutes, he's like, I love this guy. It was 100%
Yes.
approval rating on the Gruden show.
Yeah, it always came back around. It was like a sitcom that wraps up in 30 minutes. Like, you always get a happy sort of, resolution.
There's 600 versions of that because of the internet now too. Like there's a website called Underdog Fantasy where I can't remember. It's like Matt Flynn or somebody sits down with all the rookies and watches 40 minutes of film. If you open the YouTube, there's 60 versions of that. Like there's nothing new.
Yeah.
There can't be anything about this college basketball series that I haven't seen.
Yeah, but I mean, I think it's about star power. Like, is
Right.
Matt Flynn going to bring? I mean, Matt Flynn, good player, very good college player. I don't care what Matt Flynn has to say about these quarterbacks. But you know what? I care what John Gruden talking about. Spider 2 wide banana and telling Andrew Luck he's got to get quicker on his dropbacks. Like, that was great television, and I think that.
And they can do it again.
Right. If you get enough star power behind it, I think you can get people interested. But it's a lot of noise out there, Pearl. You're definitely right about
It's
that.
not Matt Flynn. God, I got to get the right quarterback here. It is.
It's got to be Chase Daniels. It's always Chase Daniels.
It feels like it's a Chase Daniel type, but it's not.
Is it
Chase
Brandon
Daniel.
Whedon?
No,
Who's he
Brandon.
gonna
no,
be giving
Brandon,
advice to?
Brandon Whedon's not watching film with anybody. He's never watched film his entire life.
Why would he start now?
Did you watch baseball film too? Or
No. It's like in the Tim Hasselbeck, Chase Daniel.
Yeah, we get it. These are
I
your
think he
kind of
was at
quarterbacks.
Washington. I think he played at Washington.
Brock Heward?
Brock Hewitt's a really good radio personality. No.
They should do it in reverse. They should have the rookies watch the guys that are retires game tapes.
And tell them why they
That's a $1
suck.
million idea.
Yeah.
What were you
watch
thinking on
that.
this one, Dan? Running out of the back of the end zone.
There you go.
Pete, now
really
you're
funny.
thinking like a TV producer.
That's how you do it. Yeah.
What else you got, Bogusch?
We got the Edmonton Oilers getting even with the Canucks, taking Game 4-3 on Evan Bouchard's goal with 38 seconds left. The Bruins held on for a 2-1 win in Florida, extending that series to Game 6 back in Boston. Good morning, Shohei Ohtani.
And the first pitch to him, he swings, hits a drive, deep right field, way back and gone. That's a home run for Ohtani. As he blasted one toward the bay, it's home run number 12. And the Dodgers lead it 1-0.
That one almost hit a seal in the bay. Tim Neverett,
Did.
Dodgers radio, the 446-foot homer, the longest in San Francisco in 2 seasons. Ohtani adding an RBI double and a 10-2 rout. His Dodgers have now taken the last 6 meetings from the Giants. The Rocky win streak up to 6 after a 6-3 final in San Diego, and the Braves blanked the Cubs 7-0. Chris Sale 7 scoreless on the mound for Atlanta. And here's our second John Gruden mention. A 3-judge panel of the Nevada Supreme Court ruled in favor of the NFL against Gruden yesterday. The panel saying Gruden's fight with the league over his dismissal for those gross emails must go through arbitration, not this lawsuit. A lower court initially denied the NFL's request for arbitration, but now must reverse that decision. Guys, back to you.
Okay, I found the quarterback. I will tell you the teams. This is a backup quarterback who does draft videos for this website, Underdog Fantasy. Really good website, actually. His teams, and I'll shout it out if you know. Started with the Cleveland Browns, then went to the Niners.
Don't they all?
Yes. Then went to Washington, then was a New York Giant.
Chase Daniel.
Nope. Then ended his career as an Arizona Cardinal.
Colt McCoy.
Bingo.
Wow.
And if you put Chase Daniel and Colt McCoy on TV and tell me who's who, Colt McCoy, you guys should help me out with that. That is the ultimate NFL backup.
He is the ultimate backup. I thought this was trending towards DeShone Kaiser, but I think he
yeah,
played
Kaiser
in
would
Green
have
Bay.
worked. Kaiser would. I would have given you half credit for DeShone Kaiser.
A lesser McCown. Luke McCown, not Josh.
How many brothers are there? And now there's the son, right?
Yeah. You would have gotten credit for any McCown or Hasselbeck would have worked.
Elvis Gerbach in there somewhere?
Oh, yeah.
Throw it a country mile. Thank you, Bogusch. Coming up, Micah Parsons got a new gig. We'll tell you about that next. It's Maggie and Perloff.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. "45 seconds remaining. "30 seconds remaining. "15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Right out of the gate with a Cowboy Quickie. Welcome back, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. Check in on the Cowboys' Micah Parsons. This was an interesting one, Perloff. He's been named the president, all caps, of Bleacher Report Gridiron. This is a media company. He's the first current pro athlete to hold a leadership title at a sports media company. Will continue to host his podcast called The Edge with Micah Parsons and will develop content strategy, launching new shows and creating original social content. That's Micah Parsons, who is also linebacker for the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah.
It's a hell of a side hustle. If it seems like a big job.
Yeah, that's a big title, president. Let me ask you this question. Does this bring the Dallas Cowboys closer or further away from a Super Bowl?
I think it looks silly, to be honest. I mean, good for Micah Parsons, I guess, but this is unserious. And you have your whole life and career to be doing media. You are clearly have charisma. You clearly are able to get people's attention. You're comfortable in your own skin. You've got all the things that are going to make a great media personality, and you already are good. You haven't won diddly jack squat. I mean, how are you supposed to look at people and say, I'm taking this as seriously as possible, I'm dialed in on winning? Even if you are, the optics on this are so silly. And to be honest, I blame Micah Parsons. I blame Jerry. This is so permissive. Can you imagine if somebody else did this, like a Joe Burrow or a Josh Allen? They would be laughed at.
I don't know about those ownership groups. Nobody's laughing at Joe Burrow at Cincinnati. He can do whatever he wants. But
that's your Cowboy Quickie.
Yeah, I think that I think it's good to have, I like this Players Tribune model. Like Mike is saying, I'm going to get a lot of young athletes involved doing content. That's cool in itself, and it feels like a nice offseason project. But it's funny, we don't rip LeBron and Draymond Green, and we don't rip older players who have podcasts, but they're older, right? So you could, I don't know. I'm fine with the Micah Parsons podcast. I have no problem with that.
Players have
but
podcasts.
Something about like the administrative role of being a president.
What are you onboarding people?
Well, it's like
taking care of the summer interns?
He's choosing the content, which I get it from BR Gridiron. He probably has some really interesting ideas, but it does. First of all, I want Micah Parsons to just give up on Dallas and come home.
Yeah,
he's got to go to the Eagles.
Okay.
He talks about the Eagles more than he talks about the Cowboys. He's got to come back to Philly because you're right. Where's this going? Like what? He's an all-time great player. He should be a Super Bowl player, and I do not see it happening right now.
Well, and here's the thing: have the podcast, do the content, do the stuff with CJ Stroud, our friend Adam Lefko. All that stuff is fine. But you're going to take on the president? Either that's a ceremonial title that doesn't mean anything anyway. So now you're just like, holding this phony title. Are you really going to be in on meetings about new content strategies? Like, I mean, that's actually someone's real job somewhere.
Right. I think you would need to be in on meetings, right? Like that's going to take actual time.
Well, and I know guys have an off season, but again, like you are now one of the faces of the Dallas Cowboys. You're in line for this massive contract and you haven't done anything. You haven't won anything. See, that's whether this is fair or not. I think LeBron doing the barbershop stuff or even Draymond doing the podcast. Draymond Green is a Hall of Famer. I might not like the antics, but he's got the hardware. He's got Micah Parsons. What do you want to be, man? And listen, maybe you can be both and you can do that. I just think it looks silly. And if I'm in the locker room, like this guy's the president of a media company. We can't beat the 49ers.
Well, one thing, He's not a quarterback. I mean, his job should be just chase the other quarterback. One thing, the Cowboys, Quinn would keep on putting Micah Parsons into coverage, which was so annoying.
Yeah.
But regardless, I think he can do this. Just you're right, the optics are bad, and he hasn't won anything. The
other question, too, is you said he's not the quarterback, and I get that there's more pressure, but when all this is said and done, he'll be the second highest paid player on the team, aside from the quarterback.
Edge.
But also but he's going to be this highly paid guy, and if the Cowboys end up moving on from Dak Prescott, he might be the highest paid player on the team. You're going to be a captain. You're going to be,
he's
all
by
the
far
things,
their best player,
no doubt. So it's the one thing that comes along with it, and now it's like. And so you're doing this, like you're the president of a media company subsidy.
Here's I think if you're listening to the show right now, Maggie and Perloff, you might say, "Oh, this is just media members afraid that current players are going to take their jobs." See, I was afraid of artificial intelligence taking our jobs, but now we have this whole new guy. Like Micah Parsons is a 25-year-old NFL player. It's hard enough to keep a job in this industry. We don't need all these young players. President of BR Gridiron,
he's going to be our boss one day. Okay, fine. He'll find this tape, and I'm probably going to be in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, he's the president of a giant media company, Maggie. We can't say anything mean about him.
Well, but here's the thing. This is what happens when you already know that this is going to be questioned by people. And if it's not being questioned by people, then now I question who's in your inner circle. Because here's the thing that will help Micah Parsons with all of his playing career, media stuff, and all of the other things is winning. Being a part of the Cowboys certainly will help because there's so much attention, but the winning will do it too. And that's what has done it for Draymond, and that's what's doing it for these other guys who have current podcasts, the ones who are active and also doing this, not the retired guys. They have all the time in the world. You have to have a level of gravitas here. And I know Micah Parsons is a great player, but again, there's a lot of great players in the NFL. How are you going to separate yourself? And how are you going to become more than just a smooth talking, great linebacker in that order?
Well, okay. I think a podcast is fine. We're good because a lot of guys used to have
flexible with that.
A lot of guys used to have the weekly,
radio hit.
Radio show. No, they used to have like the Junior Seau hour on Chargers. Like they used to get a show, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I think a podcast is fine. There's just something about this that feels too much. His inner circle, it's interesting. I think he's a David Mulugeta client. All of his players have giant media things too. CJ Stroud and Micah are put together to do this. I know Deshaun Watson has a show. Like basically, they're encouraging their players to branch out and have a whole. I think I hate to say, I think LeBron is the model here. LeBron has spread out so much. He's so much more than a player now.
But not in year 4.
Yeah, but all these other, she feels like CJ Stroud is already out there being very visible as sort of a face. There is a positive to these guys being faces and media faces. Like, I get that. I understand what you're saying, too. It's like you got to really focus on football right now, maybe do that later in your career.
I just think that it's going to come, And so I don't know if I would take over as president of Bleacher Report Gridiron. Do your podcast, grow your brand, all that stuff. Listen, guys, as Louis is pointing out in our chat, Parsons completed his degree in criminology and graduated from Penn State in 2021. This is his NFL side opportunity. Guys, go back to school. They finish out their degrees. Yeah. I'm not saying you have to be in a film room locked in a cave, for 22 hours of the day. But again, to take on this kind of you're going to be doing content strategy, I just almost don't even believe it.
Yeah, maybe it's a symbolic title. That's pretty awesome that Micah Parsons was a criminology major.
According to Louis, I didn't double check it.
Can you imagine him showing up at a crime scene? Like
Barry Allen?
Yeah, I think, forget this stupid BR Gridiron. He should be CSI Micah Parsons.
CSI Dallas.
CSI Dallas starring the starline. Oh, my God. Let's greenlight this bad boy.
He's making side quips about the dead body is laying there. He's guess he punched his last ticket.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You think that the Cowboys rate high. Why not have a crime drama to go along with your football season? Don't waste your time on BR Gridiron. I would watch that.
Didn't Shaq do ride-alongs with police and stuff? All of a sudden Micah Parsons is getting out, takes the cigar out of his mouth. He's like, oh my God, what do we have here?
Yeah. Micah Parsons in the morgue.
Oh God.
Yeah. What, getting into the nitty gritty.
Here show you that clearly it was strangulation. Oh God, this is sad.
Explain the DNA numbers. There's a 1 in 1,000. Oh, this would be amazing. I am all there.
The black light in the hotel room, just looking for clues.
And this week on CSI Dallas, special guest CJ Stroud in town to help Micah Parsons solve the big crime.
Yeah, maybe somebody can figure out the mystery of his throwing out his first pitch.
He's a president of a media company. He has time to star in a procedural crime drama.
What can't he do? Coming up, the big takeaway from last night in the NBA. You got to hear it. I have it for you next. Maggie Perloff.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. 30 seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
We give credit where it's due around here. Welcome to the show, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. And when someone on this show nails something right on the nose, something that was very much against what the popular opinion was in society, well, we've got to give it up to that person.
Oh, that's so nice. I'm so glad to hear that. What did I get right this time?
It is not you.
Ah.
It is Pete Bellotti with EJ also on the side here, which is when everybody was so happy and laughing it up about the Tom Brady roast and thought it was so funny and look at Tom and he sat there and took all the slings and arrows. It was Bellotti who railed against what Tom Brady did because somebody has to think of the children.
That's right.
Right.
That's right. And look at him now. He's regretting everything he just did, and his kids hated it. And it's exactly what I said. Why are you going to air your dirty laundry in front of your kids?
You hated this. Everyone else in sports was like, "Oh, Pete, lighten up. It's funny. It was great." And you said, "No. If they're making fun of Giselle, which they did a lot because Brady's divorced, that means it's the mother of Brady's kids, 2 out of 3, and this is going to reflect poorly." Well, here is Tom Brady as a guest on the Pivot podcast, says he didn't like how the roast affected his kids.
I loved when the jokes were about me. I thought they were so fun. I didn't like the way that it affected my kids. So it's the hardest part about like the bittersweet aspect of when you do something that you think is one way and then all of a sudden you realize I wouldn't do that again because of the way that it affected actually the people that I care about the most in the world. So like it makes you in some ways a better parent going through it because again, sometimes you're naive, you don't know.
I mean, come on. Did Tom think he was going to a birthday party? He was going to a roast. It says it right in the title.
And he ran up to the podium to defend Robert Kraft.
Yeah, that's
Last
true.
guy that needs to be defended.
I admit,
get lost.
Can I admit I share Tom Brady's naivete? When that roast started, I was like, oh, okay. Kevin Hart went out and made some jokes. When the first joke about his wife cheating on him came out, I was like, whoa, I had no idea that was going to happen. I thought they were going to be a little conservative for some reason. They weren't going to go to areas like that.
He just got divorced. I mean, he was married to one of the most famous supermodels in the world. You don't think the professional comics are going to take a shot at that?
Now I know. I don't know. When I remember a lot of people tweeted when that first joke about the jiu-jitsu instructor came out, a lot of people were like, whoa, it is on.
Yeah,
I think a lot of people were like me. They did not think it was going to be a real total roast like a traditional roast. I thought it was going to be something a little different.
Well, yeah, and that joke was something else, talking about bruises and where are they? I mean, and her with the jiu-jitsu instructor, that was a crazy joke, you're right. But what do you think you're getting from Kevin Hart? What do you think you're getting from Nikki Glazer? What do you think you're getting from Andrew Schultz? What do you think you're getting? Like the Brady naivete, it falls a little
it's not
flat
Bob
for me.
Saget. It's Tom Brady, the GOAT. He's the great. He just retired. I didn't know. I really didn't know. And I know Emmitt Smith and some other football players have been roasted. Was it the same way?
Mike Tyson, yeah.
Was it like talking about these guys' like personal lives in this way?
Definitely. And so
the Peyton Manning one, was that?
I don't remember. But again, if Peyton Manning had been going through a divorce from a famous supermodel, then yeah, I think that it's like Tom, it's kind of crazy to me, right? This is what's odd and not connecting with me with Brady right now. This is a guy who seemed like everything's been mapped out, planned out. Not just when he was a football player and game plans and stuff, but his image, he's trying to sell us something all the time. The TB12, the clothing stuff. It's like Brady's not an off-the-cuff kind of dude, right? Everything is so guarded, protected. And now all of a sudden he doesn't have football. He's in private life. And this is, I think, maybe a major misstep. It was funny for all of us to watch. But again, his dirty laundry got aired, and it looks like he's got a lot of making up to do with his kids. I mean, it was a big mistake.
Well, I disagree a little bit. It's not like Tom Brady's had this straight line of perfection. He had Deflategate. He had,
but he can always go out and win again on Sunday. Like, he could erase that with another Super Bowl ring.
Right, but he's always had some weird stuff around him, like the avocado ice cream and Alex Guerrero. People have been making fun of Brady for different things for a long time. He started out as a great teammate, then he became a weirdo. I don't think you're right. He does sort of try to present this image of Tom Brady, CEO, but I think we've seen cracks before. Now I agree, we're really seeing them in his retirement. He looks a little bit like, oh boy.
Also, this guy hasn't stopped. He was at the Aces game last night because he's like a part owner, I think, or he's trying to be a part owner. So he's there for their season opener, the ring ceremony, all of that. I mean, he even said it on the podcast, how his life is kind of crazy. He's at the Fox upfronts. He's going to be calling Cowboys Browns. I mean, he's taken on a lot here. And again, it's Brady. I'm not crying for him. But it's a weird misstep. And to claim I'm naive because I didn't think the professional comics were going to go after me, like, that just falls so flat. You've been in the public eye for now 30 years?
But you saw
25 years?
You saw his face. You really think he thought that was coming? He had no idea.
I can't tell with his face. There's so much face filler and Botox in that thing. I can't tell what emotion he's feeling.
Could be, but
no judgment or anything.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure him and his people would watch the other roast. I think they were like me. They thought it was going to be different, and that's stupid. And I admit it was a terrible mistake. I think he partly made a mistake. I mean, I'm not disagreeing with what Pete said. It was totally selfish to do this.
He was right.
But
on the money.
I don't think Brady knew that was coming. I genuinely think he was surprised. You could tell some of the jokes. He's like, he didn't know how to react. He looked awkward. I mean, I would too. I think a lot of,
this is what comes with the territory.
I think a lot of people watched that roast. I think it was one of the more popular roasts, and a lot of people are saying, "Oh, I'm not doing that." I think a lot of stars are not going to follow in his footsteps.
Well, it's a unique thing to sign yourself up for, especially when your life is really very public, because I heard once Matt Damon say this about Ben Affleck. People are saying, why do people are always obsessed with everything Ben Affleck does, but they kind of leave Matt Damon alone? And he goes, well, because I married somebody who's not in the public eye. And you think when one famous person marries another, it only doubles the amount of attention you get. He's like, that's not true. It's like 10 times the amount you'd get. And I'm not saying Tom Brady, you fall in love with who you fall in love with, but to not think that Giselle, an equally famous person to him, that it would not be cannon fodder is silly.
Well, maybe he thought it'd be like the Dean Martin roast. And I never saw a full Dean Martin roast. I've never actually bought that product that they show on TV. But those were like Rat Pack, like fun. Hey, let's all make fun of each other. Don Rickles making fun of everybody. This felt like very, very personal. And I guess they all do, but this felt particularly personal.
Lately, these roasts have started to feel cruel.
Yeah.
Instead of edgy. It's a little more. Look, you're up there talking about someone's affairs with teenage kids around. Look.
How about Tom?
I'm not trying to say we shouldn't joke and we shouldn't do this stuff and we shouldn't have an edge and any of that. But that's a lot. That's a lot. If I'm a parent, I'm sitting up there, I'm getting annoyed.
Well, and he signed up for it too. That's the part of it is. People want to have roasts. You can either watch them or don't watch them. That's one thing. I mean, I watched a whole minutes of this, and I was like, this isn't really my thing. And I went away. I didn't need to watch all this. But Tom Brady has to know what's coming, and he's getting paid to know what's coming. Like, if I was one of those kids, I'd be like, all right, Tom, you feel so bad for me? Cut me $5 million out of that $50 you got. Like, show me how you really feel.
And if he did it for the money, then that's even more gross, because first of all, you have enough money, and secondly, it's like you basically then were like, well, even if there's a couple jokes about me or Giselle, and by extension the kids get hit with some shrapnel too, it was worth it because of the money. I mean, that is not.
Why else does he do it, Maggie? Why else would you put yourself through that? This is a guy who's been in the Patriot way for all those years. It's all about just being a certain regimented way, no distractions, everything buttoned up, everything's clean. Now all of a sudden he's like, I'm for free. I'm just gonna let them just napalm my family. No chance.
He's an egomaniac.
Yeah.
Right.
It's about him.
We're learning a lot more about him. I mean,
right.
I think.
All about him. That's all about him. He going up there and doing the roast and doing Fox and doing all this other stuff and doing these podcasts. He wants to, as you said before, he wants to stay in the spotlight. And being a quarterback, you could stay in the spotlight because you're always talked about.
Right.
Now you have to go manufacture it, and he's manufacturing it.
He feels very new divorcee, new middle age crisis type
like unleashed to the world.
It just feels like he's like, all right, he's buying buy the Porsche.
Sleeping with Arena Shake.
Didn't he pick up Arena Shake in like a Range Rover or something like that? Like,
I mean,
which we talked about.
We're gonna fault the dude for that.
No,
I mean, he's human.
I know, but I'm saying he wanted to show everybody this is who I'm flaunting out with. He wanted to get Arena in a private
he could
way.
have snuck her out the back door and
right.
didn't do it.
He wanted people to know what he was doing.
If I'm recently divorced and I am with Arena Shake, I'm letting America know about that.
That's totally fine, and I'm not saying I wouldn't either. My point though is these actions to me, there's enough of them to say, yeah, this is a little too much. You're everywhere. You're doing every podcast.
Saying yes to everything.
Yeah, you're saying yes to everything. You're letting them you're taking however many millions so they could just do whatever to your family. Like, oh, I was naive it was going to happen. It's like, relax, dude.
Well,
just take a chill pill.
Here's the thing. Even if you were naive about what was going to happen to you, you know what jokes you were going to say. And you, Tom Brady, we were talking about Tom Brady admitted on the Pivot podcast that the roast was really tough on his kids and that he didn't think about that before and he was naive about it. And now this is hopefully going to make him a better parent. And this is something that Bilotti called the day after everyone came in. And we were talking about, what were your favorite jokes from the Tom Brady roast? And Bilotti and EJ were both like, no, this is really bad. And you guys nailed it. But here's the other thing. He knew what jokes he was saying before he got there. He might not have known which ones were being said about him. And he told a joke about Kim Kardashian and her kids.
Yep.
And he said the crazier thing isn't that she's here, it's that who's watching her kids, that the kids are home with their father, which is Kanye.
Wow.
And so he had a joke about someone's kids queued up. And so I can't really hear Tom Brady, I was naive that someone was going to go after the kids when you knew you were telling a joke about someone else's kids.
And who knows if he would have came out on that podcast about this if he didn't get some backlash. Because I'm not saying I was the only one. You know, there was other people that said it. And he probably heard some backlash.
Well, Pete, you were it.
Yeah,
It was
Tom
you.
heard you. But by the way, tell the Kanye joke. I don't think that's the same thing.
It's the father of their kids.
But I mean, that's such an
children.
That's such an Kim Kardashian and Kanye is such an outright joke that nobody cares about that. I mean, that whole thing.
Those kids' lives aren't jokes, though, Pearl.
Yeah,
you know, like
they didn't choose for Kanye to be their dad and be all crazy.
Yeah, Kanye's. And I know no good words to say about Kanye right now. I'm just saying. Those children, their lives are real. You can't say, well, we could napalm their dad. Doesn't matter. I don't know about that.
They're Kardashians.
Yeah, but they didn't choose to be Kardashians. Just like Brady's kids didn't choose to be Brady's and Giselle's kids. They're born into it.
Well, no, but the Kardashian, that's all true. But the Kardashians have openly decided, like, our life is going to be this open thing. I don't think Brady wants to be a Kardashian.
Wait, hold
now
on.
he knows he's like, I'm not going to. He got a lot of Kardashian energy.
Wait, hold on though.
Yeah.
They might not have a reality show around him, but do you follow Tom Brady on Instagram? His kids
way more-
are all over that.
Right, but
he puts them out there.
But Tom Brady doesn't want Kardashian show energy around his media
Then don't
empire.
do the roast.
Well, now he knows that. I think that he's going to pull back. He's like, oh my God, I just became a Kardashian. I don't think he expected that. Because the Kardashians, yes, I'm saying they've made billions of dollars by putting their life out there. I think Brady got a taste of that and says, that is not for me.
Yeah, but again, it's like to say you're naive when you had a joke about someone else's kids teed up is really, that's talk about a blindside.
To me,
I'm sorry,
naive.
He realized he got a lot of heat for this. I don't think that. I think that naive thing is his excuse. He's saying, I was naive. He knew what was going to happen. He knew there was going to be a lot of jokes about Giselle and how she acted in their divorce and her alleged infidelities, and he didn't realize how that was going to affect his kids.
Wait, but did you? All right, you guys are saying that now. Did you guys all know that there was going to be 20 jokes about Giselle?
I was not surprised by what happened.
You can't be surprised by that.
Because I think some of it is sports fans.
I'll tell you, I was not the only one on my Twitter feed who was like, whoa, didn't know they were going to go there.
But here's the thing. You just said, like, if you're the Kardashians, you kind of have to expect that people are going to... If you're Tom Brady and Giselle, you also have to expect that your public life is public fodder.
Right, but there's been 300 SNL skits about the Kardashians. I mean, they're fodder for this kind of humor. Tom Brady's never been in this position. One more thing, too, about Brady.
Yeah.
You guys, I think we all underestimated how hard it is for GOATs to retire. Like, we're surprised. Like, it's hard. I mean, Michael Jordan's life has been a little tricky. You go down the list because we see these guys are so great at playing football. He obviously has no idea what to do next.
Jordan is basically a recluse compared to what Brady is doing. And he's done like basically one article, and you see him at a couple NASCAR races because he's a team owner.
Well, I just say, right, it's been hard, though. You admit, like, it has not been, it's nothing like his playing career, which was just brilliant.
Right.
It's been up and down since then.
And it's his second attempt at it, too, because he to retire. Because he walked away and then he went back.
Right.
So
they all do. And it makes me think about LeBron. I mean, he's got also all these things, and he's got Bronny, and he's got the production company and everything. But how hard, I mean, what's the over-under on LeBron retirements?
Well, it feels like LeBron has taken so many steps in the right direction to set up his life after. Like, honestly, I'm being naive, too. I'd be surprised if LeBron, it seems like he's got it figured out. But we always think that. We think like, I mean, to me, Drew Brees was a great example. Like, that guy is such a good interview. There's no way he's not going to be a great broadcaster and have this incredible life. And it just doesn't always work. I don't know.
That's kind of why, and to your point, Pearl, that's kind of why this is a little surprising for me for Tom Brady, because it felt like he did have his life set up. He was gonna retire, he was gonna go back to his family, and then he was gonna go do Fox. And then it felt like he audibled out of nowhere, and now everything has just been kind of thrown into flux. He's still doing Fox, but then we didn't know if that was still going to happen.
Yeah.
And we know what happened, of course, at home. But, like, I feel like whoever was managing him, or maybe him himself, he did have a plan for getting out, and it feels like that plan has gone completely awry since he retired the first time.
Does this make him more, like, normal? Does this make him a little more, not dating Arena Shake and driving around Bentleys, but... does this humanize him a little bit?
Well, can he ever get back to where he was in 2002, that 6th-round draft pick who we all rooted for because he came out of nowhere and was just one of the guys and practiced harder than everyone on the team? I mean, he has a background of being just a guy. It's a long time ago.
Yeah, that Tom Brady's gone. 855-212-4227, I think. Coming up, we've got more news on the future for one superstar. Get to that next. Maggie and Perloff, you're welcome to weigh in. 855-212-4227.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. "45 seconds remaining. "30 seconds remaining. "15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to Maggie and Perloff. Looks like we're going to have a Nuggets conference final. It looks like the Nuggets are going to take the T-Wolves. Someone's going to come out of the OKC-Dallas series and be big underdogs against the defending champs. Then in the East, it may be the Knicks, maybe the Celtics. My point is, when does the summer of LeBron begin?
That's what the point is.
I think the NBA, the postseason's kind of interesting. Let's talk LeBron. What's the latest, Maggie?
Well, the latest we saw him courtside in Cleveland. No accidents when it's LeBron James. Now, the official story was that it was Mother's Day, weekend. And so, according to Brian Windhurst, he was just going home to see his mom. And Savannah, his wife, also going home to see their mom. So, when you're in Cleveland in that area, of course, you got to sit courtside at a Cavs game when you're about to go into a big summer of uncertainty.
He can't go back to the Cavs because this team stinks.
Well, that's part of it. He's definitely looking around for something. Whether he ends up going back to LA, which may be the most likely scenario, there's definitely a layer on top of this, which is what happens to Bronny. That we cannot ever discount how different that makes this offseason. So let's hear from Stephen A. Smith, who, listen, Stephen A., whatever you think about him, big personality, boisterous dude, can have some really good NBA info. And here's what he thinks about Bronny and LeBron.
Bronny James might not make it to the Lakers' second-round pick because of a team like the Dallas Mavericks could position themselves to get him in the second round. They'll take him because LeBron said he wants to go where his son goes. And if you're the Dallas Mavericks and you got Kyrie and you got Luka, and LeBron James is willing to come to Big D, that might be the first time something's more popular than the Cowboys.
Everything sounds so sinister when it's Stephen A. It's like everything's a ghost story. But the point remains. Dallas Mavericks, Perloff. You said people don't want to play with Luka. I think you're wrong. I think that Dallas is certainly on the table and would draft Bronny, I'm sure, to make LeBron happy.
I show bet. This is not going to happen. First of all, the Mavericks don't have a first-round pick. So
be a second round.
You don't think they're the only team who's thinking about this? You think Bronny gets out of the whole first round? No one's going to hold him hostage?
Well, but you have to make sure LeBron's on board with this, right? And I think LeBron would be on board with Dallas.
I think that is a dicey proposition. If you think it, first of all, Dallas is obviously the perfect fit because they can't make any moves this offseason. They have no cap space. I think they have an expiring contract with Hardaway, but they have no moves they use them all. So this makes perfect sense for LeBron, but they have to get to what pick to get him. He's before the Lakers. This is a really dicey proposition. You don't think Atlanta or somebody's going to make a move on Bronny? I'm just curious. Does anyone draft Bronny? Even if LeBron doesn't give the okay, I would just worry about that a little bit. Does he get out of the first round? I don't think so.
Man, I'm not ready to show bet you on that one, but man, I feel a little for Bronny here because he's at the scouting combine right now for the NBA.
Balling out.
He's 2.5 inches shorter than what they thought. He's supposed to be like a lockdown defender, but that's going to be a little tough when you're 6'1.5", not in shoes. But he was saying, I don't have to play with my dad, and I want to try to make a name for himself. I'm like, oh, poor guy. Because that's the only reason why teams would be interested in this is because of your dad. I don't know if that's how it's going to end up being. He could end up having a good career, but that's what it's about now.
I would love LeBron in Dallas. Feels like a car wreck coming because just see Kyrie, Luka, LeBron try and share a ball, and then really no front court offensive support in the crazy loaded West. That is a tough proposition.
Well, that's a little Stephen A. Smith for you, that they could all go to Dallas. Andrew Bogusch is here. Hello.
Do you think Adam Silver's had even a cursory phone call with LeBron's camp to be just do us the favor of not over manipulating this to make it look like there was some kind of deal that you would go there if they picked Bronny?
Oh, I think as the draft, I think it's the opposite. If we're getting late into draft night and the second round's going and nobody's taking Bronny, I think he's on the phone with teams. Who the hell's going to take him?
Yeah.
Are you going to take him? Are you going to take him? We got to make sure this kid gets into the league. I think it's the opposite.
I saw a thing where I think this was a joke that Atlanta should take Bronny #1 because that way you get LeBron to Atlanta, and nobody wants to pay these overrated draft picks anyway. So it's a terrible. It's the worst draft ever. Isn't that what all the analysts are saying?
We'll see.
I've never heard a draft that has been called the worst draft ever more in my life than this one.
The Russillo Bill Simmons podcast, they said their NBA sources say the first pick is like having the 10th pick. That's the value of the player you're getting.
Yes, you might as well get LeBron.
Yeah.
You're basically drafting LeBron. If you're drafting a 40-year-old LeBron in the lottery.
Sounds like a terrible idea to me.
Well, is it though?
It's here's the 2 guard from UConn, some dude from France, and 40-year-old LeBron James.
It'd be funny if you put the suit back on.
The white suit.
The white suit.
Ironically, though, he's so much bigger and stronger now. He probably fits into it great. If he tried to wear it again, it wouldn't be all baggy.
It was oversized then. It would fit perfectly now.
He's slim fit
he's
now.
Sitting at the table, and they call Bronny's name, and LeBron gets up and starts dapping people and kissing everybody. Gloria's crying.
Well, LeBron
goes up on stage.
Still has 4 years of college eligibility left. What if he went back to college, then got himself back in the NBA draft, and then 44-year-old LeBron?
We talked about this would be a great movie idea.
Yes. Like Back to School, where LeBron... Oh, by the way, LeBron has a huge movie company. I'm sure he'd be into this.
You could do it. Guy goes back to school, plays for Duquesne.
Yeah, with his son and his buddy coaching.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that'd be amazing.
Straight to Disney Plus.
LeBron at a frat party.
Have you guys ever seen that? Have you guys ever seen the Rodney Dangerfield movie Back to School? All time.
Of course you do.
That was money in the bank that you won that movie.
Boingos in the party.
That's the last comedy Pete seen in the theater.
Remember the Triple Lindy?
Right. And how fake it looked when you look back on it now.
Yeah, that's a high dive that he attempted. Ronnie Dangerfield. Yes, the athletic specimen that is Ronnie Dangerfield.
I just love the idea. Back in the late 80s, you could get a movie where Rodney Dangerfield goes back to be an undergrad greenlit. You can't do that these days. That's why LeBron
no problems here.
LeBron Back to School. We've had great movie ideas today.
What? This one.
What was our other? We just had another movie. Micah Parsons procedural crime drama. CSI Dallas starring Micah Parsons.
Honestly, that's a 20-year run on NBC.
Yeah.
Where's Dick
Are you
Wolf?
kidding me? That'll be the highest rated show for 9 straight years.
It'll allow them to buy more NFL wildcard.
Yeah,
games.
you'll have so many great lines like, we better blitz the crime scene. I mean, it'll just write itself. Can we just get executive producer credits on some of this stuff?
Are you auditioning right now? That was a good line.
LeBron back to school is amazing. Him and Bronny in a movie, that's happening. You realize Adam Sandler just signed a document saying, I'm going to produce this.
Yeah, and Perloff's going to be the only one who gets a bit part.
Yeah.
The rest of us are going to be on the cutting room floor.
Yeah, the movie I was in, Hustle, executive produced by LeBron James.
You're right.
Spring Hill Studios. Yeah, this could be great. Maybe you could produce a TV show with Micah Parsons. Gosh.
And Pete's idea of the reverse QB room where the young guys tell the old washed up guys why they suck.
It's such a good idea.
Yeah. See, money right there. Money. Yeah.
Man, we're just giving away these ideas. We got to do this off the air. Bogusch has headlines. Hi.
Can I give you guys a brief CBS Sports Radio Infinity Sports Network history lesson?
Sure.
When this beautiful network began in 2013, Doug Gottlieb hosted on this network from 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern. Doug is a unique guy. He's at the center of many stories from back then, including Pizza Fridays, for those who know. And at one point, he was trying very hard to become the head coach basketball at his alma mater, Oklahoma State. And we all thought it would be bonkers if he went from our broken down, decrepit, moldy newsroom to a job like that. That didn't happen. But now Doug is a college basketball head coach hired yesterday by Wisconsin Green Bay, with the kicker, he's going to continue to be on the radio every day on Fox Sports while he's a Division I men's basketball coach.
Only Doug.
Only Doug
could pull this off.
Only Doug.
Congrats to Doug. I filled in for Doug Gottlieb when he was on that network, and it was a lot of fun, and now look at where we are now. Only Doug could do this.
Only Doug could think he could do it as well.
Well, we'll see, right? I mean, he wants this opportunity so badly. Here's my question. When you do a radio show like this, just to pull back the curtain a little bit, it's the one thing about our jobs, they're very fun. We're in the sandbox of life. Our jobs are not flexible. You've got to be here every day at a certain time, contractually obligated. This is not a podcast where you can be flexible and maybe we'll film it on Wednesdays and maybe now we'll do it Tuesdays.
Yeah. We got to wait an hour to post it. Sorry, it's not ready yet.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a big chunk of your day to do this job. Just the time commitment alone, where you can't be running a practice or recruiting or something because you're just taken up by this particular job.
Is it weird to anybody that every time I see a report on this, they act like the whole idea of him doing a radio show is just like a little tag at the end of the story? So, by the way, he's going to do his radio show every day. I'm like, what? I need someone to act more bizarre or like more crazy about this.
Yeah.
Like, this is unprecedented.
It is.
Well, I see there's a long history of coaches doing once-a-week shows. That's a thing, right?
Sure.
So
Coach
this
K
is just
did
that times 5.
Okay, but it's once a week where you come in to talk about only your program. This is Doug's going to have to come and talk about Titans Jags from the night before some Thursday night game. And his name's on the show. So I think it's going to be maybe unprecedented, where we get to see and hear what it's really like to coach a Division I men's basketball team. Horizon League, any league is kind of interesting. But besides the Packers, who are also in town,
who are not hiring Doug, like
Maybe.
some might have thought yesterday.
Don't put it past Doug.
Gosh.
And up being the offensive coordinator for Jordan Love.
It won't last long.
I agree with Pete.
On which side, though? Because Doug could end up
Fox.
being a really good coach, and then he'll do what every coach does. You win 20 games, you get into the tournament, then bigger programs are going to come calling, and bigger programs. Can you be coaching Oklahoma State and also be doing the Doug Gottlieb show?
The Fox Sports will be the ones that pull the plug, because naturally, from a game prep standpoint, you're going to lose some time off your prep for Fox Sports. It's just a natural thing. It's not like he's going to try not to prepare for it.
Right.
But
there's only so many hours in the day. Right.
There's only so many hours you could do. And I think that's where at some point, maybe not right away, maybe they'll milk it for a little bit, and then they're going to have to move on.
What if it just becomes a niche show where Doug just talks about his life all the time? I mean, you could do that.
He could also do, I think there's also a difference between doing a national show and a local show. If
That's
he was
true.
going to host on Green Bay radio, that would make a little more sense. But like the thing with our job is it's not hard, but as you said, Maggie, it is time consuming. Like you're here for probably 5 hours. You're in the building for 5 hours, the hour before the show starts, doing stuff afterwards. And then when you go home, you have your regular life stuff, but you could do the rest of the day work for the next show or later. Like you could go home and think of, I want to watch college quarterbacks ahead of the draft, or I didn't watch the end of T-Wolves Nuggets last night.
Right.
I got to go watch that. Let me catch up on some baseball. Oh, there's this going on in the afternoon. Like you could always be doing something. So to throw coaching a Division I college basketball on top of that, it just doesn't seem like there are enough hours in the day.
Also, you're at the bottom of the ladder right now. It's not like you're walking into a program where it's like John Calipari, where you got all your lieutenants and they're all going to be recruiting for you, and you just have to come in and kind of seal the deal or whatever. Like Doug's kind of, I give him credit. It's admirable. You are no shade to the Horizon League, but you are starting like at a mid-major or whatever. You know, a boss once put it to me this way. Again, no one's crying for us. Our jobs are awesome. It is as awesome as it seems, and we are lucky. But our old boss, Perloff from Sports Illustrated, Paul Fichtenbaum, once put it to me this way. Once you leave the office, it's halftime. Right. Now you got to go watch the games. And I always call these jobs lifestyle jobs because you can't just really clock out. It's hard because sports is always happening.
Right, and you add social media into that, and you're kind of expected. But I'll tell you on the positive, have you ever heard of another Green Bay Phoenix head coach? Like it's getting the program publicity they've never had.
We're talking about him.
But go ahead.
I was going to mention this. I think it happened just over the weekend. Like this opening happened because their head coach went back to Wyoming after just 1 year.
Oh, he's not taking over NBC?
And that guy's name is Sundance Wicks.
And the amazing thing to me about that, too, is that the Green Bay Packers have a wide receiver named Wicks, too. What are the odds of that?
But not Sundance Wicks.
Well, yeah, what's that guy's name? He's got a funny first name. It's weird. And who is Sundance Wicks? Why did we know that guy?
That's a cool name.
Yeah. Who's pretty good, actually.
It's Dontavian Wicks.
Right. And isn't that strike anybody else as funny that there's two Wickses in Green Bay? Green Bay's not a big place.
Everything about this story is funny.
That's the least funny part about it. But anyway, bottom line, congrats to Doug. I thought it was
cool.
Definitely a friend, so congrats to him, and we're excited for him.
Doug's dad was in the UW system in the Wisconsin. There's a million Wisconsin obviously, Bo Ryan, the famous guy. Which one was he at? Like Whitewater or something?
Or Stevens Point, something like that.
I gotta be honest though, if I'm the coach at University of Wisconsin Milwaukee, I'm recruiting against Doug on this. I mean, he's got to expect that. Hey, your coach is also a radio host.
Who are you gonna hire? Tim Brando?
Well, yeah, but you're
well, Carton might have been. He was holding down two jobs for a while. Maybe Carton can take over a team.
Do you really think you're going to be out on the recruiting trail recruiting against Wisconsin Green Bay? I'll tell you. I'll tell you how you recruit against. Just show whoever is at the camp. Here's a weather report for Wisconsin Green Bay. That's how you recruit against. Nobody's recruiting against Wisconsin Green Bay.
Do you know the other teams in the Horizon League? It's like Cleveland State.
Yeah, Wright State.
Yeah, nobody has good weather in this league.
But they're not worried about Wisconsin
Central
Green Bay.
Michigan in the Bahamas. What are you talking about?
I just think you're like, well, I mean, this is a dangerous thing because now they're going to recruit against Doug Gottlieb's radio show. I mean, come on. What are we talking about here? How hard is it? They're not like losing 4 stars because of this move. I think they're actually gaining a lot of publicity. It's actually an interesting strategy.
Yeah, I like it from a media executive point of view.
I like it from the Green Bay's point of view because this is a shot of adrenaline to your program. You're going to get so much publicity. I mean, it's way more publicity than anyone would ever imagine. Did you ever think in May we'd be talking about University of Wisconsin Green Bay basketball?
I'd love to see how many Horizon League teams you can name without looking it up.
Okay. Wright State.
Yep.
Cleveland State.
Yep.
Detroit Mercy.
You're correct.
Okay, what's this one we just did? Right. University of Wisconsin
Dogs.
Green Bay.
Yeah.
Okay, how many are there?
11.
I'll give you another one.
Wait.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Did University of Wisconsin Whitewater?
No.
One became a big basketball story in this past tournament.
Oakland?
Yeah, there you go. That's
Okay.
5.
Did I do Detroit Mercy?
You did.
I did do Detroit Mercy. Butler used to be in this league, right? They're definitely not anymore.
Yes.
But they're not there anymore, obviously, right?
Big East now.
Okay. Because I used to, actually, the reason I know this, I used to work for a gambling rag, and I had to do the previews for the Horizon League.
Oh, wow. So you're ahead of the game.
Yeah. God, I'm running out of steam. Give me a hint.
IUPUI, Robert Morris, Purdue Fort Wayne. I mentioned UW Milwaukee, and Youngstown State.
And Northern Kentucky.
In Northern Kentucky, and I missed that.
All right, well, this was 2003, and none of those schools definitely. What did you say? What was the Southern school you said? Robert Morris? They were not in the Horizon League 20 years ago, were they? You seem to know a lot about them.
No, they were in the. Yeah, what league were they in, though, before? They were in the NEC?
NEC.
Yeah, the NEC.
Oh, okay.
But, like, the poll question should be which has the best weather out of these 11, because that ain't Oakland, California. So we're talking Pittsburgh and Northwest from there.
Who was the kid from Oakland? Wasn't he like 30 and he hit all those threes to beat Kentucky,
I forgot
right?
this guy's name.
Wow, that went away fast, huh?
Yeah, I know.
Oof.
Did we say, you said Illinois, Chicago? Are they still there?
They are not.
No.
And also, Youngstown State, you did say they're still there?
Yeah.
Yes. That's Ohio, Youngstown?
Yeah. There you go.
I can't imagine the weather's great there either.
No.
Again, congrats to Doug. Bogusch, thank you. Coming up,
You want any actual news or no?
God, sorry. I didn't even realize.
Bogusch,
Thanks, Doug. We love you.
You could do the whole Patriot League like that, right? You're really good at small conferences. I
Big
see.
Patriot League news yesterday. Did you see it?
Yeah, I did because I follow you on social media.
Huge.
What was it?
Richmond football leaving the CAA to come to the Patriot League.
Wow.
That's a
I mean,
significant change in FCS college football.
You are a newsman. To call that significant news,
Huge.
I think is...
Todd McShay, former Richmond quarterback.
I mean, from here to Delaware, the ramifications are significant of
Wow.
that switch. Yeah.
that far.
Yeah, at
all,
least.
all the way
at
from
least
here
Delaware.
to Delaware.
Yep.
That's a
That's like
4-hour drive.
Oof. Nah, that's depending on what part of Delaware, it's 215, 220. And
That's what time of day.
that's a long drive. That's a lot of people who are in
Lot
a
of
frenzy
people.
over this news.
Someone tell Dante DiVincenzo, the Michael Jordan of Delaware.
I thought
go.
I thought you were going to say they folded.
Which one, the Patriot League or Richmond football?
Both.
That's the big news.
You better watch
They're
out,
going out
Pete.
of business school.
You know,
This is
what if
business
Richmond
out.
hired Fox Sports Radio's Brady Quinn to take over too? Go full circle.
That's a good trend.
The whole lineup
Yeah,
in Fox is just all getting second jobs coaching. Where's
LeVar
LeVar
Arrington, yeah, taking over a small program.
What's Colin Cowherd gonna? All right, we've given them
Colin
enough free
Cowherd's too busy
publicity.
being GM to several NFL teams. He doesn't have
true.
time to coach.
Zach Gelb will go with the horrible former Carolina Panthers coach. What's his name?
Matt Rule.
Oh, the Temple connection?
Yeah.
First order of business. Matt Rule, you're hired as head coach.
Was Zach his first assistant?
Yeah.
Offensive and defensive coordinator?
I've always been surprised. Zach Gelb, of anyone I know, anyone in my life, he should have played big time football. He's huge.
Doesn't mean he's good.
I don't know. He's the only person I know who's
big?
like 280, but not like overweight. Like
He played in high school, right?
I think he played in high school, but he should have been a college player. If I had his size, I would have been like a solid right
Do you
guard.
not realize Zach Gelb was on Radio Row doing interviews when he was like 12?
Yeah.
Right.
Though he wasn't doing anything but being a radio host.
Well, he should have been an offensive lineman.
Well, until Doug Gottlieb came along, we didn't know you could do both.
Well, I mean, honestly, if Zach had real offensive
Doug's a
lineman,
trailblazer now.
if he had real offensive lineman experience, he'd be the coach at some Division II school right now.
Youngstown
and on
State.
air. He'd be the Youngstown State coach and 3 to 6 on Infinity Sports Radio Network.
Doug breaking the glass ceiling for radio/coaches is the best storyline in years. That's
Yeah.
the movie.
And another movie.
Who would play Doug in the biopic of Doug finally getting these two things together?
Now that's a question.
Don't make me
Wow.
cast that one.
Paul Rudd could do it.
Who?
Paul Rudd.
Paul Rudd could.
Paul
he
Rudd
could.
as Doug.
I was going to go
like
Downey, but Rudd's good.
Pete's friend Paul Rudd could definitely
Robert
do that.
Downey is Doug Gottlieb.
Yeah.
I love
Definitely.
it.
That doesn't ring true for me.
They're about the same age.
Doug, yeah. Yeah, I think that could work, actually.
Downey's a little too rough around the edges for Doug. That's why I went with Rudd.
Yeah, if Rudd I get. I don't get Downey. This is very intricate.
Send this to Doug. All right, Bogusch, we now have no time.
Knicks won, Nuggets won. Back to you, Maggie.
Here we go.
That's right.
Brunson's Bruns him.
Lots more to do, including NFL scheduled news. We got updates for you next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining.
He's got something to say, infinity's mice. He's feeling the dismay. No NBA on NBC, what a shame. Just JJRedick's wine ain't the same. Peter Bellotti is getting upset. Maggie Perloff, can you hear his plea? Bring back the NBA on NBC. Set his spirit free, he misses more. Co-stars and the crew, those were the days. Pete cries out boo-hoo, boo. Bring it back, or can't you see? Bring back the NBA on NBC. Let it be. Pete's mad, he's feeling sad. Bring it back, oh make it right. Peter Bellotti's got something to say about Tom Brady and a roast on that day. He's angry and he's speaking his mind, saying Brady was out of line. Should've known better, should've thought twice before agreeing to that roast. It ain't right, talking about his ex-wife crossing the line. Peter Bellotti says someone needs to find that children shouldn't have to hear all of that. It's not fair to them, it's a matter of fact. Brady, you messed up, it's time to face the truth. Peter Bellotti won't forgive you, that's the truth. Live the truth, if I face the truth. Peter Bellotti won't forgive you, that's the proof. Moist pork so delicious, fashion icon, always ambitious. Rocking the threads, fresh and clean, styling on the scene, living the dream. Loves Twitch, not YouTube, always dancing, never in the mood. Live streaming with 1 million views, sipping on success and paying his dues. Loves Baltimore, city of his heart, representing, playing his part. But hates back callers, ain't no doubt. Gotta stay fly, that's what it's about.
Lost in the waves on a treacherous sea, Andrew Perloff trying to find his way back home. San Antonio nights, but the stars don't guide. A bet gone wrong, predicting Wembaya's demise. Andrew Bogusch, the loser left alone, crying in defeat, tears on his own. Perloff, Perloff, what a perilous fate. A journey of failure that he cannot evade. Perilous journey, lost in the sea. Andrew Perloff, drowning in his disbelief. A bet gone wrong. Andrew Bogusch high on.
Bogusch weeps, he's got the road trip blues. Left behind, feeling like he's bound to lose. Perloff's off to San Antonio, can't believe his eyes. But Bogusch stuck at home, his heartache amplifies. Betting against Wembanyama, Perloff took the fall. But it's Bogusch left behind, feeling 10 feet tall. A loser in his own right, can't catch a break. Road trip dreams shattered, for goodness sake.
what's going on in London. Jets at Vikings, that's October 6th. And the Jags stay there for 2 weeks. Jags facing the Bears, so you get Caleb Williams in London. And then who knows if Drake May is going to be starting by October 20th with the New England Patriots playing the Jags. Munich, Germany. New York Giants going overseas. They will play the Carolina Panthers. That's November 10th. Again, another 9:30 a.m.
Oh, well, okay. Well,
very early from a West Coast fan.
That is an easy skip. Wow. They're really giving bottom of the barrel to the German
Munich.
crowd.
Tell us what you really think. But I think the Giants are a pretty big draw, I would imagine, just because of the New York connection. But I don't know if the Giants are going to be out of it by November 10th.
I did think, the last couple of years, maybe last year was different, but the Giants haven't gotten those primetime games, so I think the NFL can de-emphasizing them. That, the one thing, the most important thing about these games is that you set your fantasy lineup by 9:30 Eastern. I don't think you're going to have many players on the Giants and the Panthers, so that one will be an easy skip.
Well, we'll see about Malik Neighbors.
Who's throwing the ball?
Well, I don't know. By November 10th, maybe Tommy Cutlets.
Yeah, honestly, they're not going to let Daniel. Yeah, Malik Neighbors is great. They're not going to let Daniel Jones throw it all over the yard, so that is not going to.
So this is what's one that's of all the things that stand out here. One is that the Jets are going to London, so you're going to get Aaron Rodgers playing overseas. That's interesting. I wonder if JJ McCarthy will probably be starting at that by that point. I think JJ McCarthy is starting right off the bat. So you're sending over potentially JJ McCarthy, Caleb Williams, and Drake May. If those rookies all do start, all three of those guys would be playing a rookie game in England, and that's tough. I mean, your rookie season is hard enough. Add on top of it one of these London games. That just adds a little degree of difficulty for you.
Nah, that's just right. First of all, too, for Rodgers, it's great because you don't have to go to Minnesota. Well, I guess Minnesota's an early game, so you have an advantage when you're the road team on these Europe trips. You're not going to the opposing crowd, which is a nice thing. These games are always ugly anyway. So I picture they say Drake May is starting for the Patriots at that point. It'll probably be 17-13 and
something like that.
Yeah, I think it's fine. One thing you could say, these Europe trips are bonding, to get the team all on the same page.
Maybe. The other part is the Chicago Bears. Taking away a home game for the Bears would be the most exciting quarterback that you've ever had, basically. That stinks if you're a Bears fan, unless you really want to make the trip over to, where's this game? Tottenham Hotspur.
Yeah. No, it's not ideal. How do they determine who gets to give up I know it's probably on a rotation, like who has to give up the home game?
Yeah.
That's it. I'm bummed, isn't it? Forget all those teams. The Eagles are actually contenders, and they have to play the Packers on a neutral field. That's not fair, Maggie. What are you going to do about it?
I told you the moment that came out, you should have been upset about it.
I don't like it. I don't like it at all.
You're delaying your home opener. You got to play the Packers now, and we don't even know what the situation's going to be like in Brazil. I'm assuming the field's probably better than a lot of NFL fields.
Yeah. That's certainly a game that you want at home. Packers are a really tough opponent. That's a high-level schedule analysis there by me.
Thanks, Perloff. You want to be getting the Packers when you're in Philadelphia.
So wait, just big picture here. Do you think NFL Europe is working like these games?
I bet the NFL will tell you they are.
Yeah.
I bet it seems like the crowds are pretty big. I don't know if the tickets are expensive.
Seems like they do sell out, but is it that hard to sell out 5 games a year?
No, I know when I had a friend who was living abroad, they loved going to the games because it felt like a little slice of home.
Did they sense that everybody else was getting into it?
A lot of expats, they said. But again, this was a while ago.
Now, the other question, too, are we anywhere closer to a London team? And it feels like that's slowed down a bit. I'm not hearing as much chatter about that.
I think the pandemic maybe kind of put that on the back burner.
And very well
it will definitely be the Jags. But I just wonder if you're going to do one team or do you do a whole division, how do you do it?
Or do you, is the NFL going to expand at any point? You don't really hear anything about that. I'm not sure why, because that'd be big money for the owners. And I feel like they could expand to 34.
The NFL feels like they can do whatever they want.
Yeah.
But you're at such a disadvantage. You talk about rest and travel miles. If you're the NFC West having to take on the Europe division.
Well, you've been to Mexico City. That's another potential, but the altitude's so different, and that's pretty far too. I feel like that's too tough.
With Mexico City, that's easy compared to going to Europe because the time change isn't your body clock doesn't get disrupted. So Anyway, that's the latest. We got more scheduled stuff. It is Wednesday, which means great debate. What are we tackling next? I'll tell you. All you got to do is just hang out. Just for a minute. We'll be right back.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining.
Unstoppable gridiron, the anthem of the game. Maggie and Perloff igniting the flame. When they're on the mic, you know it's gonna be a thrill. A sports duo like no other. They've got the Bills and Eagles will.
1 minute, 30 seconds remaining.
It's game day, the crowd's on fire. Maggie and Perloff, the legends we admire. Stats and insights, they bring the heat. Hot takes that sing to every heartbeat.
1 minute remaining.
Pride in their eyes, cheering for their teams, reaching for the skies. Every touchdown, every tackle, it's all with passion and energy.
45 seconds remaining.
Unstoppable gridiron, the anthem of the game. Maggie and
Running through the end zone, touchdown the field. Bills and Eagles, yeah, we never
30
gonna
seconds
yield.
remaining.
Stats and insights, we the legends of the game. Maggie and Perloff, we taking all the fame. Hot takes that sing, we bring the heat each day. Talking
headlines in 5 seconds.
Unstoppably grateful. Game day glory. We bring the fire and the fun. Maggie and Perloff. We ain't ever done.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
On Wednesdays around here, we do the Great Debate. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. Today's Great Debate, well, let's hit it.
The Great Debate Series.
Perloff, this is a Peopleati pick this week, so we'll see if Bruce Bochy somehow makes an appearance,
Are we doing
but I doubt it.
Greatest tag team in WWE history?
We're going to do that at some point.
That will be more Pete's picks.
Yeah, I just watched the Iron Claw, by the way. I'm all about it, Pete. I'm ready to go.
Today's Great Debate, because we've been watching a lot of hoops around here, both the NBA playoffs, CaitlinClark, all that stuff. The greatest NBA finals in history. Greatest NBA finals in history. That's the Great Debate. Perloff, you get us started.
Okay, so I knew I wanted to go Bird Magic because I think a great NBA finals, in my head, it's Celtics-Lakers. You could go back to Russell versus Chamberlain, all that history. You go Paul Pierce versus Kobe, but you had to do something from the 80s. My first thought was the Baby Hook, but then I dived in the history of it. The 83-84 season finals was the most epic. It's most known for one single play. We have the audio of it, I believe, involving Kevin McHale and Kurt Rambis.
Here's Kareem, outlet to Worthy. Rambis. And now let's watch it. Cooper and the Celtics, and now the bench is empty. As Larry Bird helps Kurt Rambis up, he was decked by two Celtics and hit the floor hard.
Amazing. That changed the tone of the series. The Celtics came back and won it. Larry Bird basically averaged somehow 25 points and 20 rebounds. He was insane. Look at the Hall of Famers real quick in this. The Lakers had Kareem, Magic, Cooper, Worthy, Rambis, starting with Byron Scott, Jamal Wilkes, Mitch Kupchak coming off the bench. That's all names you know. The Celtics are a who's who. They had Parrish, Bird, Dennis Johnson, Cedric Maxwell, Gerald Henderson, Kevin McHale, Danny Ainge, ML Carr, Quinn Buckner. Like, GMs, coaches, Hall of Famers, everything. Everybody was in this series, and it was the most competitive of the three Magic Bird finals. So that is my number one of all time.
It's a good one, and there were a lot of really big names, but I give you something historic. When it's a feat that's never been accomplished before, it's got to rise to the level as the greatest NBA finals of all time. And for me, that's the 2016 Cleveland Cavaliers coming back from down 3-1 against the Golden State Warriors. Now, here's why. Golden State, you'll remember, was the 73-9 team. This is an all-time team that would have been talked about forever had they just been able to complete the job. They're up 3-1. They blew out the Cavaliers in the first two games. Then Cleveland comes back in Game 3. Game 4 is where things changed because Draymond Green and LeBron James got tripped up. LeBron kind of stepping over Draymond, and Draymond kicks him in the junk and got suspended for a game. So not only does that happen, he gets suspended for Game 5, but his backup, Andrew Bogut, suffered a season-ending injury in Game 5, and so now Golden State was really up against it. So we get to a Game 7, and the sequence of events that led to the Cavaliers winning started with this from James.
Rebound taken by Iguodala. Iguodala to Curry, back to Iguodala, up for the layup. Oh, blocked by James. LeBron James with the
Oh my goodness.
It's crazy that the all-time leading scorer for the league, one of his most famous plays is a defensive block on Andre Iguodala, kept the game tied. Then it was a Kyrie Irving 3 on the other end. Then it was Kevin Love stopping Curry in the waning seconds to win a Game 7 on your opponent's home court after how good the Warriors had been that year. To me, the greatest NBA Finals of all time was 2016. The Cavs come back on the Warriors. Never been done.
Crazy.
That was an awesome
and they're
one.
still the only team, right?
Oh, still.
I saw it's like 1-40 down 3-1, and the one being them. Curry was a little hurt, too. Just want to point that out.
EJ, you're up next. The greatest NBA Finals of all time.
Okay, we got to take it back. So I think one of the criteria has to be a Game 7 or at least Game 7 series, and we have 3 of those so far. But I'm going to go back to the 70s. You had some of the most insane performances. So you had a half-court shot that sent the game into overtime in Game 3. You had a 45-point and 27-rebound game in Game 6. You had the MVP of the NBA get injured and be questionable for the game, play in a Game 7 and inspire his team to a impossible victory. That is the 1970 NBA Finals between the Lakers and the Knicks.
I think we see Willis coming out. There he comes right now. 6'10" from Grambling. The captain of the Knicks, the most valuable player of the NBA. Frazier then slows it down, is picked up by Jerry West at the top of the post. Reed. Willis Reed scores the first bucket here tonight. And Reed now is outside. There's his second shot. He is 2 for 2. Willis Reed.
Why do the 70s sound like the 50s?
I don't know, but it's not
radio.
like, for whatever reason, basketball and baseball, it always sounds so cool in those old cuts. So I wanted to make sure we got Willis Reed's only 2 baskets in the game. But people underrate that Willis Reed guarded Will Chamberlain for 27 minutes. He played 27 minutes on basically a torn up hip. Of course, he overshadowed the outstanding performance from Walt Clyde Frazier, who had 36 points and 19 assists, I believe. Just a miraculous series. Will Chamberlain scored 45 and 27 in Game 6. Again, Jerry West hit a half-court shot that in today's NBA would have won a game. It was only a 2-point shot. So that was the greatest shot ever. Didn't win a game, unfortunately, because they have a 3-point line. So an incredible series from the 70s. I'm going with the Knicks beating the Lakers in 7 games from 1970.
Frazier dribbles through the lane. He passes to the Busher, passes to Bradley. Yeah. I immediately thought, oh my God, this is 1950s, not 1970. It wasn't that long ago. That's a pretty famous one.
All right, Pete, we're doing the greatest NBA Finals of all times. This is Pete's picks. This is his idea. So who do you have?
Let's go to 1998. Let's go to the end of the Bulls dynasty. And it's the second time that the Jazz had a chance to really put get their own world championship, and they couldn't do it. 6 games, the final for Jordan. No, Pippen was not healthy during this game, and this was the capper of a great career and one of the greatest dynasties ever.
Here comes Chicago. 17 seconds. 17 seconds from Game 7 or from championship number 6. Jordan. Open. Chicago with the lead.
The ultimate dynasty comes to an end, and the ultimate story.
Yep, that was a great one.
Ultimate push-off.
Push off there. Costas didn't catch that one. Costas sitting courtside last night, too. Bogusch, the greatest NBA Finals of all time was what?
My thought is that there's a Celtics-Lakers one in the 80s that wins this, but I was barely alive to really process those. So I'm going to go with my favorite Bulls Finals win, and that's the 92 Finals with the Suns. Bulls win the first 2 games in Phoenix. 93 is the correct year. Why do I remember that? Game 3 is a triple overtime classic. Suns win that. Jordan has a huge Game 4 to reinstall the lead. Barkley then says we got to win for Phoenix. They win Game 5, go back to Phoenix for Game 6, and we get this.
Here's Paxson for 3. Yes! The Bulls take a 1-point lead, and Phoenix calls for time with 3 and 9/10 seconds remaining in the fourth quarter.
Another time, by the way, that Jordan passed in crunch time for all the LeBron haters as Paxson knocks down that shot to get the win in 6 games.
All right, there you have it. The great debate today, the greatest NBA Finals of all time, which is surprised that this was a Pete's pick because Pete doesn't like the NBA.
That's not fair.
I'm sorry, he likes the Knicks, but does not like the NBA.
I don't like the current NBA.
Oh, got it.
I don't.
You like the
the
90s
Knicks.
NBA, like the rest of us.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're all on the same page.
Yeah,
America's on the same page with you.
When we made layups, when we worked in the paint much more than we hit in threes, you know, when we had a great commissioner, you know, that stuff.
There you have it. So it's the great debate today, the greatest NBA Finals of all time. I don't know, maybe this year will be a contender.
Could be. You know, it's so funny. The Jordan ones, like I didn't know if 98 was that the flu game, was that the push-off game? Like all the Jordan
The guy only
ones.
made a 10-part documentary.
Yeah. But they're all kind of the same finals. Same with those Magic Bird ones.
It's almost like The Simpsons. They're all wearing the same uniforms.
Yeah.
Same thing, so you don't know what episode you're watching.
I'm voting for Bogusch's.
What about your own?
I loved that Phoenix team with Richard Dumas and Dan Marley so much. That was my favorite final. I rewatched it on NBA TV. Oh, that was so good.
Favorite quote maybe in the history of the NBA Finals was asking Charles Barkley, "What are they going to do in Chicago with all the windows being taped up? Take that bleep off the windows."
How about any love for the Ray Allen Miami Heat, San Antonio Spurs, the Ray Allen improbable comeback and three-pointer in the corner?
I almost picked that, but too many blowouts.
There were a lot of blowouts.
Series had all blowouts until Game 6. And Game 6 and 7 were great, but it was like 5 borderline unwatchable games unless you really enjoyed seeing the Heat get pummeled for 3 of them.
I would argue that was in a little bit of a valley for the NBA because of the Spurs. That's, you know how I feel about this. It's
Nobody hates anything more than Perloff hates the Spurs.
Well, I just think that's when the NFL started to ascend, when the Spurs just took the fun out of the NBA.
In the chat, P. Maddie says, Heat Mavs, the epic photo with the Mavs already celebrating before the game, and then the Heat came back and won. He's asking if it's 2013. I believe that was a lot earlier. Wasn't that 2005?
That was when Dirk won the MVP. It's Dwayne Wade, right?
Yeah,
that was 2006. Yeah, that was 06.
But 2013 is when the Mavs got their revenge and beat the Heatles in the, or maybe that was 2012.
I think it was, yeah.
But no, 2000, Kawhi was
2013
sometime around
when the Dallas won.
I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah, then when did Kawhi beat the Heat?
That was
14, maybe?
Yeah, that was 20. No, that was 2016. No, 2015. I'm sorry.
Yeah, 16 was mine.
Yeah, that was 2015, the year before.
Yep. So that was an interesting one.
No, we're off, by the way. That's impossible because Golden State had one in there.
Yeah, we are off a little bit.
But anyway, those are
Heat, Mavs.
Maybe
They
it's
played
2014.
twice.
Yeah.
These are all really
Heat
good
1-1,
ones.
Mavs 1-1.
Yeah. I don't think we're going to get anything on the list this year unless Jalen Brunson somehow single-handedly scores 50 points a game and the Knicks win, because the Nuggets are defending champion. I just don't think you're going to get that kind of epic historic matchup. There's no LeBron. Is this way too negative to say that already?
I don't know. I mean, I think that there are legacies on the line in this finals. I mean, I think if Jason Tatum goes to another finals and loses, I think that's going to be something. Because he's been so close and not getting over the hump with all the Eastern Conference finals and going to a finals, being ahead in that finals and losing. So I think Tatum's got something on the line. If Jalen Brunson and the Knicks pull this off, Jalen Brunson is the best player in the league. Who is this? Just a season? Is this really who he is? I mean, this would be a wild ascent for somebody who was thought of to be a good player and maybe a good to great player who's put himself in this new stratosphere with how much he's scoring.
Right, but we're talking about, look at the names we had in these 5 finals we chose. Jordan, Bird, Magic, LeBron.
Steph Curry.
Something is definitely missing because for some reason Jokic doesn't feel like he belongs in that list.
Well, he should be. He's a 3-time MVP.
I was gonna say, he'll have the accolades those guys have potentially.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? Like, maybe it's because we're in the moment now. I just don't think we're going to look back on Denver like these teams. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe if they win 3, I just can't see having like a Lakers-Celtics kind of feeling.
Well, to Maggie's point, I think if it's not Jokic, it's going to be the beginning, either the beginning or the one-off for one of these guys. It's going to be the beginning of an Anthony Edwards, the beginning of a Luka, the beginning of a Brunson, the beginning of a Tatum. So all the ones we picked, all of those guys had very long stories that were almost coming to a conclusion in some of them.
Right,
we
didn't pick the beginning of anybody there.
No.
We picked the end of most of these guys.
I mean, the Knicks, it was their first title, but I mean, the Lakers had been hitting their head against the Bill Russell, wall for 15 years before that.
Let's just clean this up too, for people who are listening and maybe want this. So let's just, it was 2010, 2011. That's when the Mavericks won.
That was LeBron's first year in Miami, right?
Yep, and that's when the Mavericks won. Then Miami got the next 2. They beat Oklahoma City in the first one, and then they beat San Antonio in the second one. That's the Ray Allen shot in the 2012-2013.
Right.
Then San Antonio gets the revenge 2013-2014. That's Kawhi. Then Golden State 2014-2015. Then the Cavs, Golden State, Toronto, and on and on and on.
Toronto.
Yeah, then
Who doesn't fit in that list?
Random Toronto one.
That's what I feel like. This is going to be a random Toronto kind of finals here. Like, is Jalen Brunson wins the title? Is that Kawhi winning with Toronto?
Only if like Jokic, I'm not wishing anything. If he gets hurt or something, obviously that would have the same thing Kawhi has, where Kevin Durant got hurt.
Right.
So we kind of explain that away a little bit.
I'm a master, and you guys, probably my least favorite quality of anyone who is a fan of Andrew Perloff. putting an asterisk next to every NBA final. I'm like, oh, yeah, like that 2 years. I'm like, oh, Curry his knee was banged up. That doesn't
You
even
think
count.
that's the biggest detractor?
Honestly,
Mr. Bandwagon himself? You think you think the poking holes in people's championship resumes is the most annoying thing you do?
Well,
they're both high, though. They're
You
both
wanted
in
to become
the
a Chiefs fan at the end of the season last year.
People hate when I put asterisks next to those 2 Rockets finals, but come on. I mean, come on.
Oh, where Jordan was retired?
Yeah.
He was only retired for one of those seasons. Came back in 95.
Kind
For
of.
the tail end.
Yeah.
Kinda.
Wearing 45, losing to Nick Anderson.
Okay, so you can now weigh in 855-212-4227 on what is the greatest NBA Finals of all time. We want to hear from you. You can also come on into our chat and watch us on YouTube, youtube.com/InfinitySportsNet, twitch.tv/InfinitySportsNetwork. We are across the country on SiriusXM channel 158 and around the world on the free Odyssey app. Download it. It's crystal clear. It's awesome. We're back in a minute.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
It's a dead man's party.
Oh.
Who could ask for more?
Little Oingo Boingo, because you're talking about the movie Back to School with Rodney Dangerfield, one of Pete Pilotti's favorites. You know, of course, the lead singer of Oingo Boingo, Pete, is
Forgetting his name, but he
Danny
wrote the
Elfman, who is the all-time soundtrack guy. He wrote the Simpsons theme.
That's what I was going to say.
He's an incredible musician who's done every great theme ever. Oingo Boingo.
And this is what he came up with?
Oh, it's a dead man's party. You know, you would probably picture him. He's got the big red hair. It should have been on our one-hit wonder bracket. Wait, what are you talking? Ripping Oingo Boingo? Don't go down that road, Maggie. They have a lot of loyal fans there.
Listen, I love an 80s comedy. This one is a little bit of a blind spot for me. I've never seen that one.
Back to
School.
Oh, you got to see it.
Back to School is awesome. I mean, it's a clean version of Rodney Dangerfield. I worship Rodney Dangerfield. He is one of the best comedians. Watch old clips of him on Carson, Pete. You know what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah.
And making Ed McMahon, pee in his pants.
That was Ed McMahon's role.
Yeah, it was just, but Rodney was, that guy batted 1,000 on talk shows. Big fan.
Okay, I don't know how to transition to that to DocRivers.
Well, I was going to say a guy who could be on Carson because he can spin a yarn, as it were.
Sure.
Tell a story
There we
that
go.
may or may not be true.
Apparently, there's like some kind of budding feud here between JJRedick and DocRivers. Where did this start, EJ? Do we have an idea?
So this started, I wish I had the soundbite, but it started essentially when JJ crushed Doc when he started making excuses for, I think, the early struggles of the Bucks. And JJ basically was like, this guy always makes excuses for when things don't go well. He blames on other people.
Right. So that's when we also started coining DocRivers the spin doctor. So here was Doc talking about JJ said he's bitter because of how things ended in L.A.
Make decisions that the player doesn't agree with. In JJ's case, we didn't sign him back. With the Clippers, I stopped playing him as much because he wasn't very effective in the playoffs. And, that's all known. But I'm fine with that.
Doc always has a way of painting it positive at the end. Here's more Doc, a spin doctor, saying JJRedick's best career numbers were with him as a coach.
Usually they all come back to you. They do. Because they know everything you tried to teach them or do for them was in good. JJRedick's best numbers of his career was under one coach, and you're looking at him right here. I'm the one that grabbed him out of Milwaukee and decided to start him.
Okay, it turns out this might not be true, right? JJRedick's numbers, I think, were better.
In Philly, he averaged more points. He shot a slightly better percentage in L.A., but he averaged like 18 and 17. He never averaged that in L.A.
So Doc's saying eventually they all come back. Eventually, JJ will come around and realize that it was all just a little tough love and that Doc was just doing the best he could.
Let's go, Doc.
There we go.
Let's go, Doc. I love him.
That's the spin doctor.
Great coach.
You just like him because he doesn't like JJ.
I agree. Yep.
You're the enemy of your enemy is your friend.
That's right. Excellent coach. One of the best ever.
That's funny.
Yeah, there we go. On a more serious note, about JJRedick possibly being a candidate for the Los Angeles Lakers.
A more serious note.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
I disagree with that characterization as well.
You're right. As a professional broadcaster, that was a bad transition. On another note, another thing, JJ Redick being considered for the LA Lakers head coaching job. Here is Udonis Haslem, who's been doing some work for ESPN. Says, here's the problem with JJ being hired by the Lakers potentially.
I'm going to go ahead and say it. If it's JJ, it's going to be a cynical locker room. You're going to see guys that are going to say, is Coach going to do a podcast after the game with LeBron? You're going to have a cynical locker room of guys that are going to side-eye everything JJ says because they're going to wonder, is it JJ's message or LeBron's message?
So that's Udonis Haslem, says it's going to be a cynical locker room because no one's going to believe that JJ is, that he's going to just go run to a podcast after the game or that he's just executing LeBron James's instructions.
No, I totally understand what he's saying. It's really tough. The fact that JJ's in the media is already a knock against, he doesn't have coaching experience. So I think he's coming into that situation if he did get hired behind the 8 ball. I think he'd be very highly criticized for anything that went wrong, more so than, like, say, a Kenny Atkinson.
Okay.
I think JJ's going to get a lot of heat.
Let's take the podcast out of it if you can. Let's say he gives up the podcast. I'm no longer doing any media. I'm just going to be the coach now, and
right.
I'm going to focus. Him executing the wishes of LeBron James is basically what every coach has been doing, whether they realize it or not. You sign on to coach LeBron James. Newsflash, LeBron James is saying when he's coming in and out of games, he's going to have ideas about the rotation. He's going to have ideas about who's going to be his teammates. Like, this just makes him like everybody else.
No, he's way worse because he's coming out of the booth and he has no experience coaching. That Darvin
different.
Ham has called, set up plays before. So I think people are going to look at JJ way tougher than, say, a former assistant. Because they're going to think this guy has no idea how to coach like LeBron's coaching. So I think JJ specifically is going to be blamed for that, having LeBron calling the shots.
Listen, I just think, if you take the podcast part out of it and if JJ's just focusing, it's the same thing that every coach has done.
It's not.
Okay, but so Darvin Ham had some experience as an assistant coach. It didn't end up saving his job.
Kenny Atkinson, if
he's been a head coach.
Right, if he gets a job, everyone's going to say, well, at least he's running Kenny Atkinson plays. Nobody's going to say that about JJ. They're going to all think it's, yeah, of course, Kenny Atkinson. If you bring in a Kenny Atkinson, I hope it's to design a play or two. Otherwise, why on earth are you bringing him in?
Well, what do you think people thought of the job Frank Vogel was doing? I mean, when LeBron gets to pick the teammates, what are you doing?
Well, I still feel like people thought there was some X's and O's going on with Frank Vogel. I don't think anyone's going to think that about JJ because they've never seen him do it.
Andrew Bogusch is here with headlines. Top that.
I would say you should watch this beautiful podcast of Basketball and Wine because I think JJ breaks out marker boards and designs plays in the podcast.
Right.
Does he really?
Horns down.
Yeah, so
definitely does.
He accepts your apology.
He's definitely setting up plays. Just he's half drunk.
I'm just assuming Kenny Atkinson is the best.
The marker just runs off the board at one point.
Kenny Atkinson has to be the best play designer ever because that guy has no personality. How he could have been an NBA head coach otherwise? I mean, come on. Everybody thinks that way.
This morning's NFL schedule leak is the finalized international schedule. London is getting Jets, Vikings, Bears, Jaguars, and Patriots, Jags on 3 straight weekends in October. The Giants and Panthers will play in Munich in early November. All of those games are 9:30 a.m. Eastern kickoffs. But that's not it. We also have a few glimpses at the college football schedule. We get our first look at Deion and Shedeur on Thursday night, August 29th, when Colorado hosts North Dakota State. 2 nights later, it's Notre Dame and Texas A&M, and then USC and LSU on Sunday night, September 1st. Obviously, these games have been on paper, but now they have actual start times and TV assignments coming up here soon.
Oh, they better win that game.
Who?
Colorado.
Against the
I know.
the Bison.
I don't think North Dakota State is where they were a few years ago. I can't, like, in the Carson Wentz trade, but that's a must-win, obviously.
Well, yeah, I mean...
You can't lose to a 1AA team.
No.
Oh, wait, are they still 1AA? I'm sorry.
Oh, they are, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but everyone, they're not going to be an easy out, though. They're not your run-of-the-mill 1AA.
Yeah.
They're sending multiple quarterbacks to the NFL.
Yeah,
in the first round.
still think, like, that is the one game they just got.
That's the one game? Why?
That is literally the one game. If they start out 0-1 with a loss to North Dakota State, I mean, the spotlight is going to be shining really bright on Deion. Don't you think?
But wait, he wants the spotlight on him. I don't see how this changes anything.
Well, it's different if you lose to I don't know who else is on their schedule. Okay, they have the next game's Nebraska. Nebraska's gonna be a little better this year. Losing to North Dakota State at home is really bad. Yeah, I think that would be the worst thing that could happen to them.
See, in some ways, I can't tell if any of this stuff is bad for Deion. Like what?
That would be bad.
But is it? I mean, it
I
just
think
feels
so.
like he's not being judged by normal wins and losses from
But that's
people.
a one must win. Like if I'm looking at the rest of the
That's it.
schedule. Yeah, I mean they don't
can go
have
1 and
a lot.
11.
This is their chippy. This is their sure thing. After this, it's nothing. Colorado State's at Colorado State this year. They got the Big 12 has a lot of good teams. I don't know.
What else we got, Bogusch?
The first CBS Big Ten broadcast, by the way, is Purdue hosting Notre Dame September 14th. Michigan and USC play a Big Ten game the following Saturday. The Knicks are still down multiple key players, but maybe Jalen Brunson's right foot is no longer a concern.
Hartenstein rebound, quick outlet. Hart has Brunson on his right, spotting up. Fires the three and knocks it down. 31 for Jalen Brunson. Knicks lead is back up to 16, 80-64. Timeout, Indiana.
Pat O'Keefe on Knicks Radio. Brunson with 44, his fifth 40-point game of this postseason in a 121-91 rout of the Pacers. New York back on top of the series 3-2. The same lead for the Nuggets after their third straight handling of the T-Wolves. This one was 112-97 in Denver, the first win by the home team in this series. Nikola Jokic, the best player on the floor, 40 points, 7 rebounds, 13 assists, and one happy head coach, Mike Malone.
Nikola was named MVP after that Game 2 loss. And I think the last 3 games, 3 consecutive wins, he's shown everybody, why he is arguably, one of the best players to play this game.
The Nuggets also slowed down Anthony Edwards from 44 points in Game 4 to 18 last night, missing 10 of 15 shots. CaitlinClark was also 5 for 15. She scored 20 in her WNBA debut. It was a loss, the Fever falling in Connecticut 92-71. The Las Vegas Aces celebrated last year's title, and then down the Mercury 89-80 with Asia Wilson beginning her season with 30 points and 13 boards. It appeared that the Oilers and Canucks were headed to overtime last night in Game 4 at Edmonton.
We're tied at 2. Draisaitl behind the Vancouver net. Sent it out in front. Bouchard a shot. Score! 3-2 Edmonton! 38 seconds to play!
Jack Michaels on Oilers Radio. The late tally from Evan Bouchard getting Edmonton at 3-2 win, tying the series at 2. The Bruins stayed alive with a 2-1 win in Florida. 28 saves from Jeremy Swayman, forcing a Game 6 back in Boston. The New York Yankees are now 29-15 at Target Field after last night's 5-1 series opening win. That's the best winning percentage for a visitor to Minneapolis. And back quickly in the NFL, the Jaguars and the city of Jacksonville have agreed on a $1.4 billion plan for major renovations to the team's current stadium. The plan is not new, just the agreement is. It still needs approval from the city council and then the NFL. Each side would pay $625 million for all of this. Construction would begin after next season, with the Jags planning to reduce capacity in 2026, then spending 2027 in Orlando and or Gainesville. There was talk of playing at Daytona, the racetrack, but that apparently is off the board. That would have been fun.
Like in the middle?
I think so, yeah.
Wow, with RVs around it?
I don't know if there's room left for RVs, but yeah.
I think that would. Isn't Daytona huge?
It's huge, but I mean, a football field's not small either.
So here's the thing. You're going to plunk down all this money for a team that is guaranteed one home game in London every year and would be the most likely team to defect their city to go to London permanently.
Fair objection. This comes with a 30-year lease. There's all sorts of caveats for London, including they can't leave for London. And there's rules for playing more than one game a year in London.
Okay.
So Jacksonville has covered its bases.
Right.
Yes, they'll still play one game there. If they play more, it has to be in a year where they have the extra home game. So they're still ending up with, I guess, 7 home games in Jacksonville, no matter what.
Yeah, and I guess for Roger Goodell's, dream to have a 25-game regular season and expand this thing, is going to be 82-game season for the NFL at some point. They'll have plenty of home games.
Yeah.
I mean, the Perloff's point earlier, so what benefit is it for the Jaguars to keep doing this if they're going to stay in Jacksonville? To do the London thing?
Well, maybe they just got the benefit. They just got what they wanted from Jacksonville. I don't know.
Oh, you mean a stadium?
Yeah. The threat of London was like, okay, give us $625 million free dollars to build the stadium that we want.
Gotcha. That makes sense. I guess to me, I was thinking competitively and monetarily for, I guess, whatever. It doesn't feel like Jacksonville has put their great imprint on London in terms of London all of a sudden being crazy about the Jaguars. But you're right. I think if there was an idea that they wanted the stadium done, that could have been it. That's a good point.
Well, I mean, Shad Khan's been there since 2012 now. It's been a while, and we've been talking about him in London for a long time. It feels like if it was going to happen, they'd be closer. Is there any real movement toward the Jags ever going to London? It doesn't seem like it to me at all.
There's more games all the time.
Yeah, but I don't know.
And now they stay there for 2 weeks in a row.
You could easily.
That's a new thing.
I think if they did London, they would expand. I don't think they're sending the Jags.
Maybe not. What else we got?
No, that's it. I'm done.
Okay. Well, coming up, thank you so much. One thing that must be on your radar, it starts tomorrow. We'll get to that next. Don't move. It's Maggie and Perloff.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. 30 seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to Maggie and Perloff. PGA Championship gets going tomorrow. Valhalla, that's in Louisville, Kentucky. And a woman who is covering that tournament and is a staple, not just in the world of golf, but in sports broadcasting. I do not say this lightly, Perloff. Without the incredible career of Ann Liguori that is still going so strong, I am not sitting in this seat today. I know that. I've told her this. Ann joins us now. She's got a new book out called Life on the Green, Lessons and Wisdom from Legends of Golf. Ann, thanks so much for making time for us today. How you been?
Hey, it's so great to join you both, and thank you for those kind words, Maggie. That was very, very sweet of you.
Well, Ann, it's the truth. I've told you that before. I am like the president of your fan club. You know that. We'll get to the book because it is fantastic. You put clearly a ton of work into this, all the great interviews that you've done in your career. But we got to start with the PGA with Rory. You know, not to get too gossipy about this, but it's been a heck of a week for Rory. He's coming off of a win. We know that the major drought is always going to be right in the looming over the shadow, over the shoulder of Rory McIlroy. Then we also get the news on Tuesday that he's filed for divorce. I mean, a lot going on in Rory's world. How would you explain what Rory is now facing heading into Valhalla, the place where he last won a major, the PGA, in 2014?
That's right. Rory McIlroy trying to win his first major in 10 years. And can you believe he's getting divorced? I just was shocked by that. And he goes out and wins the Wells Fargo on Sunday by 5 strokes. And, of course, all this had to have been going on, so it didn't hold him back from playing so incredibly well. But very sad that he and his wife of 7 years, Erica, are getting divorced. And, you know, he has a young daughter as well. So, but he's playing great golf, and he wanted to get back on the policy board with all the negotiations with PIF, the Saudi Public Investment Fund. And so they put him on this transactional committee, so he'll be back in the day-to-day process of that. Rory just likes to have a lot going on, obviously, and he'll just have to focus. I think he, you know, obviously one of the favorites going into this PGA Championship tomorrow, and we'll see how he does with everything going on.
And in your book, you talk so much about the mental game. You interview these legends of the game. I was curious about distractions. And forget Rory for a second. What about Scottie Scheffler's got a newborn at home? Is this going to – I mean, he's still the Vegas favorite here. But do you think he can have his A game despite, you know, some sleepless nights?
I know, right? I mean, Scottie's just incredible. He's won 4 of his last 5 tournaments, goes home, and his wife Meredith has a baby boy. And, you know, and he came on Monday to practice at Valhalla. He said he didn't want to show up just Wednesday because it wouldn't have done him any good. So, yeah, I'm sure he's deeply conflicted. He didn't want to leave home and the newborn. But, you know, Scottie has that incredible ability to just keep his head down and focus. In fact, I asked him that at the Masters, you know, when he was winning by so many shots. I said, you know, were you enjoying it all, the lead, the 4-shot lead? And he said he just kept his head down. He was taking it in a little bit, but didn't want to risk, you know, not playing aggressive golf. So, yeah, Scottie is just so zoned in on and off the course, and he's going to be tough to beat, I think, even as a new father.
Ann Liguori is joining us. She's got a new book out called Life on the Green. And you know, Ann, who do you like in this PGA? Is it Scottie's world and we're all still living in it, or do you think someone else can give him a real run?
Well, Scottie is obviously going to be hard to beat. You can't forget about Brooks Koepka. I mean, we don't see a lot of Brooks Koepka because he's on LIV, but he won his first tournament this year on LIV in Singapore, and you know, Koepka said that he played so poorly at the Masters, he finished tied for 45th. He said he was an embarrassment. He actually apologized to his team. And Brooks always loves to compete and win with a chip on his shoulder. And that sets this up to be, he's the defending champion. I mean, of the PGA championship. I mean, unbelievable how great he just performs in majors normally. Now, the Masters was a bit off, so that was hard to understand. But I think Brooks Koepka loves to play when he has really a lot to prove. And obviously he does, since he played so poorly at the Masters. So we'll see if he can defend his title. And, he won back-to-back U.S. Opens, 2017, 2018. Then he won 3 PGA championships, and maybe he'll do it again, back-to-back PGA championships like he did in 2018 and 2019. You have to really count him in as a huge favorite here.
It's obligatory. We have to ask, how do you think Tiger is going to look this week? Tees off 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. We're still all watching. Does he have a chance to be competitive here?
Well, even he says he wishes his game was more sharp. I mean, he's being very honest about his game at this point. And, he finished dead last at the Masters after making the cut, which everybody was ecstatic, and so was he. But, I don't see – I'd love to see him make the cut. It's a really tough walk, this golf course. It's hilly, perhaps not as hilly as Augusta National, but it's a very strenuous walk. So, again, it all depends on how his body can deal with, the strenuous walk, the hills, the undulation. And I think he's hoping to make the cut and then see how his body reacts on Saturday and Sunday. And he struggled, obviously, in Augusta, so hopefully he can come back. He looks strong, though. I mean, he's been working out. He's doing everything he possibly can to get that body in shape to be able to endure 4 straight rounds.
Ann Liguori is joining us, the award-winning journalist and golf reporter, but has covered every sport throughout her incredible career. Life on the Green is the new book. And also, we should mention the weather is not supposed to be very good either. And I don't know for Tiger how that makes all of his various ailments can't be much easier if the weather is going to be bad and rainy and kind of yucky and gross. And with this book, you've interviewed so many legendary golfers to try to get into their heads. Who surprised you the most out of all these interviews?
Yeah, the book is just it's a collection of 12 legends, 6 men, 6 women, and I wanted to get their take on what they learned from their iconic golf careers that they bring to their day-to-day life. So it's really a lot about life wisdom and incredible stories. So two guys actually surprised me the most. Padraig Harrington told me that he has fear, not just nerves, when he gets to the first tee. And he talks about embracing that fear and that it's very normal to have that fear, which I think is just incredible. 3-time major champion Padraig still has that much fear when he goes to the first tee. Well, will he shank the first tee shot? Will his game not show up at all? So I thought that was really, really interesting. And then Bernhard Langer, the winningest player on the PGA Tour Champions, he came from so much poverty. I didn't realize how poor his family was. And he talks about he wasn't even supposed to be here because the doctors told his mother she shouldn't have the baby or she wouldn't make it, and neither would the baby. And he just goes on with this incredible story about his early days and how he started caddying just to get a couple coins and feed the family, right? And he had such a great knack for caddying. It was a natural talent. And then he turned pro at the age of 15 and got a sponsor, a wealthy businessman, to sponsor the early days of his career. And, you wonder how at 66 years of age, somebody like Bernhard Langer continues to want to train and travel the world and put in the time that it takes to really play well and to win. And he got to go back to his story, his childhood stories, and all he had to overcome as a young boy. So some of these stories are just fascinating. I think all of them are fascinating. But I think I learned a lot, Maggie, that I hadn't learned from these pros in years of covering golf. So, and again, the themes are universal. Gary Player talks about pursuing your passion. Annika Sorenstam talks about there's no shortcuts to success. So we all can learn from their life wisdom.
And I'm curious about the generational difference. Different generations are represented in the book, going back to Jan Stevenson and Nancy Lopez and Annika Sorenstam and Gary Player. Are golfers today built the same way mentally as they were back then? There's obviously, it's a different sport. There's more money. There seems to be different things going on. But what makes a great golfer, is it still the same, or are they made up different mentally?
It's an interesting question because there's so much money in the game on and off the course, off the course, obviously, with endorsements. These players, the guy players, are making so much money. You have to wonder if the hunger is there, right? I mean, I think the players of yesteryear were more about legacy and collecting titles. And sure, they made a great, great living, don't get me wrong. But the players today are making so much money that even if they don't do well in a tournament, they're living large, right? So I think you have to, I hate to question hunger with some of these stars, but I think that's a real factor with the money in the game these days.
Well, and Ann, I mean, the live money that came in was just eye-popping. And it's, hundreds of millions of dollars. And I think people were a little surprised by John Rahm's comments yesterday, and I'm sure you saw them, obviously, which is, he took the live money, and he's playing on the live tour. He's technically suspended from the PGA, but can play in the majors, and said, I still have a love for the PGA, and said, I still support the PGA. I mean, how awkward is this getting with the gray area now between live, the PGA, and all the Saudi money that's come into golf?
Clearly, John Rahm has some regrets, I think, about taking the money. Well, maybe not regrets as far as taking the money, but just leaving the PGA Tour, because when he was asked about this ongoing drama, right, between the PGA Tour and Live, and he says, you guys, meaning the media, keep saying the other side, but I'm still a PGA Tour member, whether suspended or not. He says, I still want to support the PGA Tour. Clearly, he thought that there'd be a deal by now, and he could play these PGA Tour events that he won. But even at the Masters, he said when he passed by, the Phoenix Open, the stadium there, he really missed that. He lives in that area. He missed not playing that tournament. So you got to think that he perhaps thought that a deal would be coming a lot sooner. And, when Tiger was asked about, a deal, he said, hey, we're working on it. It changes day to day. There's lots of work ahead. But I think a big sign in all of this, Maggie and Andrew, is Jimmy Dunn, the architect of that June 6th framework agreement. He resigned from the board. And that was shocking to me. But he said his role is superfluous. He said the negotiations are going at such a slow pace. He said the players now outnumber the independent directors. The players hold a majority on this policy board. And there's really no meaningful progress being made. So if Jimmy Dunn is saying that, I think, we get a great idea of what isn't happening.
And Phil Mickelson sort of hinted or threatened that maybe someday Liv would pull its golfers out of the majors, or that the Liv golfers wouldn't be in the majors. Do you see it ever going that badly?
Well, let them do that, right? The players live for the majors, right? The majors are what they really want to win. I'm talking about the majority of these players. I think Phil's changed completely since he obviously kind of was the one to initiate this whole live deal. But no, the players live for the majors. They want to play in the majors. The PGA Tour has 16 live players. I'm sorry, the PGA Championship has 16 live players playing this week. So that's what these all players want to do. They want to win major championships. So I don't see what Phil said as happening at all.
And congratulations again on the book, Life on the Green, Lessons and Wisdom from Legends of Golf. I mean, I don't have to connect these dots. Father's Day gift. I mean, this is perfect for anyone who loves golf and just as a sports fan too. And thank you so much. Anytime we get to talk with you is always a pleasure. And again, I'm the president of your fan club. I have been for a long time. How you continue to reinvent yourself is just, it's a lesson to all broadcasters, not just women, but especially to people like me. So thank you.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed it. Let's do it again soon.
Absolutely. And of course, enjoy the PGA, Valhalla. You're always big into golf bets, Perloff. You pride yourself on being really good at doing this.
Well. I got hit hard by Victor Hovland at the Masters. Come on, Victor. You start out so good. But I read 3 columns the night before, and I just see who the hot guys are. Everyone's high on Rory right now.
Yeah, but how many times have we been burned by Rory at a major?
Everyone's super high on Schauffele right now. Xander Schauffele. I love to throw a little money on Xander Schauffele. I'm going to sprinkle it out. Koepka, you can't go wrong with.
Koepka with a chip on his shoulder, as Ann said, after the bad Masters showing.
Listen, when you say I like to do this, like my lack of expertise really I enjoy it very much. Like, let's jump in there. Put a 5 spot on Rory. Why not? Guy's getting divorced, has something to prove.
clearly looking for a distraction. Might help him,
Yeah,
focusing on the course.
Just don't do a roast, Rory. Trust me.
That's some good wisdom. Coming up, we've got drama in the NFL. We'll get to it.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining.